everyone, my name is Noelle, also known as Charge and Die on TikTok, Instagram, all the things. I tell Scareactor Stories as my main content, but this year I can't scare because my haunts have been canceled. Thanks, the mess. So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk to fellow scare actors so that they get a chance to share their stories. I have a couple guests today at the same time. This has never happened before. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi. My name is Xandra Amrine. I'm a actor and scare actor in the Los Angeles area. A former scare actor at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. Again, thanks to the mess not scaring this year. But I'm really excited to tell about my stories from last year.
Yeah.
My name is Pete Richards. I am a mechanic. First off, I race cars and motorcycles, and I actually just kind of got into this by accident.
Oh,
So
fun.
that's a fun story in and of itself.
I want to hear it, but first, I want to know how long have you two been scaring, and what got you into it exactly?
Well, last year was both of our first years.
Both of our first, yeah.
Okay.
And we both performed in Stranger Things last year.
Oh, okay.
Stranger Things is a very, for lack of a better word, strangely huge part of my life. I'm a professional Winona Ryder impersonator in the Los Angeles area, so I've played Lydia Dietz, I've played Kim Boggs from Edward Scissorhands, and of course I've played Joyce Byers a couple different places. And in 2018, my roommate was cast at the time for Horror Nights, and she was in the Universal Monsters Maze.
Oh, cool.
She had a great time. She always was coming home and saying about how fun it was, and that was the first year they did Stranger Things. I unfortunately couldn't make it to the first audition because I was working another job at the time. And then when I went to the second round, they were only looking for tall, buff men. So naturally, I didn't make the cut for the filler roles that they were trying to fill at the time. But I promised to myself that no matter what, I was going to do everything I could to be cast as Joyce the next year in 2019. So 2019 came, the auditions came, I scheduled it right away. And I was going to be thankful for anything, but I really, really, really wanted Joyce. Obviously, it's a very special character to me. And when I went in for my audition, a couple friends of mine were kind of helping me try to figure out what to do. And they were like, well, don't go in and perform Joyce. Try to make it a little more generic. And I did. I tried to be just like, because she's very expressive with her eyes and she's very manic in the way she moves. I was like, oh, I could be like an escaped mental patient, maybe. Not saying that about Joyce, but like that's the closest generic thing I could think of.
Yeah, there are similarities, yeah.
Exactly. But then once I got into the audition room and I was getting ready to go up in front of them, I was like, why aren't I going to do this as Joyce and show them that I can do Winona's physicality and facial expressions? Why aren't I just doing that? And so I went with my gut and I did. And I told them during my interview, look, I would love to be cast as anything, but Stranger Things is really important to me. I would be honored to have any role in that maze, and I will give it my all. And then during my fitting, they told me I had been cast as Joyce, and it was my dream come true.
That's so great. How about you, Pete? How'd you get started?
So
The story's way better than mine.
So I had never been a huge haunt fan until I was with my ex. She always loved HHN. She loved going. That was her thing. And so I went with her a couple times. And eventually one year she was like, you know what? I'm finally old enough. I can audition. You know, I'm going to do it. And I think we should do it together. And I didn't have any interest in doing this. I was like, no, I don't want to, but whatever. So she drags me to the audition. And she, without revealing too much, someone got a call back and someone didn't. And she hated that idea because she was the one who didn't get the callback. So I was trying to see if there was some way that I could talk to someone on the inside because I was the one that got the call back. So, you know, having an eye on the inside, and maybe if someone drops out later on, I can be like, hey, hi, I know you, this person, you should get her in. But she hated that idea, never wanted to do it, and eventually I ended up getting her a spot. About 2 weeks in, somebody had quit or whatever, and they were looking for someone that matched her description. And I gave her information, and they said, great, have her send us an email. And I called her that day, and I was like, hey, I just, you know, I got you in, you know, you've got a spot here. And she was like, nope, I just got my dream job at Disney, sorry.
Well, good for her for getting the dream job, but still.
Yeah. And then the end of the relationship came a couple months after HHN, because she was still salty about not getting the initial part.
But she kind of ended up being a matchmaker.
She did end up being a matchmaker for us, because if it wasn't for her pushing me to get into the audition room, I never would have done HHN.
True. That's a great way to think about it.
I know that story was probably, you know, a little bit all over the place, because I haven't told it or thought about it in a long time. So I was just trying to get my thoughts together on it.
No, that's fine. I think everything happens for a reason, right? That's what I think, at least. And I think that's great that she was able to get her dream job. It sucks that she was a little salty about not getting in, and like kind of, I don't know, taking it out on you a little bit, unfortunately. But hey, happy ending. Now you two are together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my whole point to her, was like, look, I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because you want to, and maybe I can get you in if I do it. And then it turns out that
she didn't even want to. Wow.
I absolutely freaking loved every second of it and wouldn't change a thing.
That was gonna be my follow-up question of like, did you have fun though? Did you like it?
It's like, after I got it and I kept thinking more and more about it, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I will have a ton of fun doing this. Why did I think I wouldn't want to do this in the first place? And then from day one, it was absolutely amazing.
So what was the most intimidating part of it, just starting out? And what was the most fun part of it, in your opinions?
Well, the most fun part is so hard to say, because there were so many things about it that were great. I mean, I can't think of a single time, and this is genuinely, this isn't just me looking with rose-colored glasses. I can't think of a time that I was ever not enjoying myself 100% when we were on set. Even if I had like 4 hours of sleep, I was just loving it so much.
But it was on and off set too, because the fun wasn't just on set. Oh yeah,
no. When we were off set, we were having just as much fun as we were performing. I think the most fun part for me was, like I said, Joyce Byers is a very, very special character to me. She's my favorite character Winona's played. She's just my favorite character, period. So to get to immerse myself fully into this role and become this role and bring that experience to other people was just the greatest honor. And there were some nights when I was in tears, because I would look around me in my set, in my costume, and just be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm Joyce. This is actually happening. And the most fun part was definitely, obviously the scares were great, but I always enjoyed it when people would come through and be excited to see their favorite characters. Because that is something great about working a haunt that has well-known characters, is that people come in and are just as excited to see you as they are scared. And with Joyce, because she's not really a scary character, you get to play around with that a lot. Like, you can be like kind of sweeter to the kids because she's a mom, and you know, a lot of the scaring for her came from the reactions, because it's not like I'm jumping out of people, jumping out at people. Well, I'm sure there are mazes where you jump out of people too.
Yeah, sure.
In this one, I wasn't jumping out at people, but she is very sharp with her movements. So I relied more on the sharp turns and just all of that to get my scares, and it worked. So that was definitely the most fun part, was immersing myself in the role. And then for the most challenging?
Yeah.
I think the most challenging part was definitely the stamina. Because there are nights, even though you're having a great time, when you're not even necessarily tired, but you're doing the same motion over and over again, and you start feeling really sweaty. And there were a couple times I wore colored contacts because I have blue eyes and she has brown eyes, and the sweat would like drip into my eyes and
Oh,
it
that
would burn, and
stings.
it's
Yeah.
so horrible. Or you get super thirsty and you have to run off, drink your water, and run back on because you don't want to miss a really good potential scare if it's there. So definitely the most challenging, I'd say, was the keeping up the energy the entire time, despite like all of the uncomfortables. But I mean, my discomfort is nothing compared to your blinders.
The mask.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of discomfort, I guess I could say that the costume itself was.
Oh, you need to tell them.
Yeah, what did you play?
I was Will Byers.
Yeah,
in
okay.
Stranger Things Maze.
Yeah.
It was the not the very end scene, but one of the ending scenes of season 1, where he is in the bathroom and he pukes up a slug.
Mm-hmm.
And the set was amazing. The way that they made the walls switch to the upside down was pretty ingenious, actually.
Yeah, it was a great maze.
Oh, that's awesome.
I went through. I didn't scare act last year, but I did go through because I had never gone through as a guest before. I worked it a couple years, but I'd never gone through as a guest. So I was like, I was a wolf on New York Street in the trick or treat zone the year prior, so in 2018, and that I ended up getting hurt that year. So I was like, I'll just take a year off and heal and actually enjoy my first Halloween in LA since moving here, because I never had that, and I love Halloween, and it's like, yeah, I love working it and scaring for it, but I wanted to like do my traditions, which I haven't gotten to do since I moved here. So I kind of took the year off, but I got a frequent fear pass, so I went through like all the time just to support my friends, have them scare me. They knew me. I didn't know who they were. They were the ones in the masks, not me. So I didn't know. I'd be like, do I know you? Like, someone would touch me. I'd be like, do I know you? They'd be like, I'm like, cool, message me later. I don't know who you are. Like, I'm just getting touched, and I don't know who you are. So, yeah, I went through the maze. And also, I'm possibly going to be interviewing my boyfriend after your guys' interview is done, and he was tech for Stranger Things.
Was he?
Mm-hmm. He did.
Oh,
He switched
awesome.
between like Stranger Things some nights and Killer Clowns other nights, and like just that downstairs area. Yeah. So he worked for the third-party vendor, dealing with the lights and everything. I think sound was a different company, but lights specifically
So
was
he
him.
knows about my issue.
Oh,
He probably knows about my issue.
Oh, I would be very interested to hear. I'll tell him what the issue was and go, do you know what he was talking about?
I'm sure that's the most challenging
No.
thing. Oh, really?
I guess maybe, but
Yeah.
I would say okay. So since we're on the topic of like I said, challenges,
Uh-huh.
the mask that I had was not latex, but it wasn't silicone either.
Was it foam?
It was this weird. It wasn't foam. It was this weird, like rubbery kind of. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't latex. It wasn't silicone. It was this weird in between material that was like hard but soft at the same time.
Gelatin?
Kind of.
Was it heavy?
It was just so weird.
It
But
felt weird, but was it heavy?
It wasn't heavy. No.
Oh, okay. So it
but-
must have been, I guess, I don't know, and I know you don't know either, but for people watching, I'm going to say, take it with a grain of salt, I think it may have been a mix of foam and gelatin. So, anyway.
Maybe.
So, I don't know, I'm interested in prosthetics and special effects, so that's why I'm like, I'm kind of like, I want to guess, I want to do the research on my own time and see if I'm right, so I may be absolutely completely wrong, but I was, sorry, I got weirdly fascinated off topic. Continue. It was this weird prosthetic. Go on.
It was this weird rubber-esque mask thing,
Okay.
but the thing is that it was modeled after Will Byers. The problem is that he was played by a 12-year-old at the time, so the mask is the same shape and size as a 12-year-old's head and face.
Oh, no.
Problem because I'm not 12.
Right.
I think I'm.
I would hope not.
Right. So, and then the other thing too is that the eyes were cut out, so it was just these little tiny slits. And the room that I was in was very dark, and this thing, like, it wanted to just crush your head every time you put it on.
Oh.
And trying to see with that in a very dark room as it was did not go very well sometimes. There was one time I smacked a small child in the face on accident because I couldn't see him.
Oh no!
We can do that one. Get into that one a little later. But that one was difficult, especially, and then the sound. We had this big sound issue because we had to cue to the lighting and the sound. But the thing is that both tracks weren't synced up. One track was, from what I talked to the sound people who have finally fixed it, like 3/4 of the way through the run. One sound was 7 frames shorter than the other. So when they looped, it never stayed the same. So the audio and the lighting would keep like going back. They'd sync up, and then they'd like, it was completely random. So it would be always changing. And it was, we kind of figured it out towards the end before they changed it.
You guys did great with it.
We started to realize, like, okay, this light is going to start drifting closer and closer to this sound. Eventually, once you get into that overlap area, you got to pick, do you want to cue to the sound or are you going to cue to the light?
Right.
So
what did you pick?
It kind of depended on the day, whatever you were feeling. Yeah. And then okay, the worst one. Because Will Byers is puking into a sink, mm-hmm. If you want to make it look decent, you kind of have to convulse into a sink.
Right.
3 times every 20 seconds.
Ugh.
So every now and again, you're standing there and you're doing it, and then your body just finally figures, like, well, I guess it's time. Maybe we'll do it for real. And so you have to, like, basically stop yourself and try and make sure that you don't actually puke into the set sink.
Oh, God. Did anyone do that you know of?
One time after Dino, I had to actually leave set and go and take care of business in the bathroom. In the real bathroom.
I can understand why. I'm glad it was only once.
It was only once. It almost happened a good number of times, but yeah.
You stopped it.
What dedication, dear Lord.
Right. So
good. And the best times, I can't say that there was really any time that wasn't fantastic. On set, off set. You know the schedule of, like, being 45 on, 45 off, and then
that's one of the options. That's the best option.
We did have the best option.
Yeah, 45s is the sweet point. I had half on, half off for the wolf, which doesn't sound that bad, but after 20 minutes being in that costume out there, my body started shutting down. So, and then of course, having to use the restroom, it took the full 30 minutes to get the whole thing off. So
yeah, see, we're lucky we wore, like, normal clothes.
I wore jeans, a t-shirt, and a sweater.
Yeah, same. So
I think weirdly enough, I think I also did 30 on, 30 off my first year too, and that wasn't as bad because I did have jeans and a t-shirt. I was a camp counselor for Crystal Lake, so it was just t-shirt and jeans. So I was like, okay, half on, great, half off. I didn't have to take off anything to be more comfortable. I was good. But 45 is the sweet point. I did an hour on, half off once for pool. That was the worst. That was just, no, they should not exist at all. Dear Lord. But yeah, so 45 is nice.
Yeah, 45. It was perfect because, and especially where, because where the Stranger Things soundstage is. Mm-hmm. We can just walk right into the park from there, and we're right down there in all the lower lot stuff. And so pretty much any time we'd be off set, we would just, put our hoodies on and go into the park and just screw around in there. And it was
great.
It was a lot of fun.
So much fun.
I remember one of the really funny ones is whenever we'd go into the Starbucks and then we'd all crowd around her and just be like, "Oh my God, is that Winona? Is that Winona Ryder? Is that Winona Ryder?" And everyone would start to look over and, like, you just like pull your hood and, like, run out.
So my friends are always like, there are probably some people who thought they saw Winona Ryder at Universal. And
yeah. Because you had the wig on and the makeup and everything still. You just had a hoodie on to cover up the...
That reminds me, remember in Clowns? Were you there for that? Oh, I might have been with Steve with that.
That was with Kyle,
So we, we started to have a rivalry with Killer Clowns, like the last couple weeks of the run. So they sent clowns into our maze. And then we retaliated by going into their maze. Me and our Steve Harrington, whose name is Kyle Harrington, another great scare actor.
I was kidnapped and carried out of the maze by a clown.
Yeah. So
with
obviously,
no warning.
we got.
Wait. So they weren't just the actors; they were like the actual characters going through.
Yes, they were in full clown suit costume.
Oh my god, I didn't know
and
that.
They shut the maze off, and I waited for like a minute or so, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe the celebrity's coming through. And then all of a sudden, just a bunch of clowns walk in, and then they literally just grab me and throw me on their shoulder and fireman carry me through a third of the maze and then out.
So we had to retaliate against that. So we went in as Steve and Joyce. And then it was really funny. No, wait, it wasn't when we went in as Steve and Joyce. It was when, I mean, that was a thing that happened. But this specific incident, I just remembered because I was wearing my hoodie, but I still had the wig and the makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
And we get out of the maze, and then there start these rumors going around. Everyone's like, oh my God, did you hear, like, Winona Ryder's here? Like, they saw her in the park. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh, no way. There's no way I'm going to be running around Killer Clowns. I got to be on set right now as she comes through. Has she gone through? Did anybody see her in our maze yet? And nobody had. And I'm like freaking out because I'm like, I got to be ready. I got to be ready for Winona. So I run back down to the maze and I'm getting on, and the person outside, we're talking, they're like, yeah, they said they saw her over at Killer Clowns. And I was like, when did they see her? And they were like, oh, like 15 minutes ago. And I'm like, oh, no.
It was
That was
me.
me. I was so relieved and disappointed at the exact same time. I was so relieved I didn't miss her, but so sad that she wasn't actually there.
But what a compliment too! It's like people
The
thought it was
biggest
you. Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
It's
the
like,
biggest
oops, that was me, but they thought I was her.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
What a
I
great
always
compliment.
say the fastest way to my heart is someone, when we first started dating, you said to me, you were like, you look just like Winona. I would tell you you're beautiful, but I think what I said means more to you. And you're like, absolutely right. It's like
Aw.
the best.
So spill the tea. How'd it start?
Oh.
Dating.
Oh,
How'd
okay.
you? I want to hear this. Like, yeah, we'll talk Scareactor stories, but I also want the tea. You know, I haven't had a couple of scare actors on here yet, so
Yeah.
I'm very interested. If you're okay sharing it, of course.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, of
absolutely.
course.
So my ex did not like the whole Universal thing. That was kind of the nail in the coffin on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Same for me and my ex. I
she-
had an awful ex who he auditioned kind of same situation. He didn't care as much about it, but he auditioned, didn't get it, and every day was just really salty and rude about it. And yeah, so similar situation.
Yeah, and then my ex met someone at her dream job at Disney, and they were coworkers, and they just kind of kept talking, and eventually it was the day after Christmas, and my ex is like, yeah, sorry, we're done here. So
Oh wow, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
and then I didn't see it coming, everyone else saw it coming, but of course you never see it coming. Most people.
Yeah, rose-colored glasses really gets you.
Yeah, and so everyone else is like, yeah, dude, like she had her foot out the door like a while ago. She was just kind of finishing things up. And that's really all there is about that. And then I went back to school in Colorado for a little while, and then the world became what it is today, and
Yeah.
now we're here. So it was right about March when we got together. And
Yeah.
you can share your side of
Yeah.
the leading up to the happenings.
Yes. So, after Universal, we all stayed in touch. We always were hanging out together. We promised ourselves we were not going to let, it ending, because us and like 2 or 3 other people really formed a really close bond. And so we were still seeing each other like, a couple times a month.
Yeah.
And he is actually involved in a project I'm doing, which I will talk about later at the end, because if I start talking about it now, I'll talk about it the whole time.
You won't stop.
I won't stop. So we were still in contact and seeing each other regularly, and my ex was a very, without getting into details, not the greatest when it comes to anything. He was very manipulative and made me feel really guilty about any successes I would have. He was jealous of anything that took time away from him. He was very possessive of my time. He was jealous of my family, my friends, my career, which was the worst. And
those are very normal things you should not be jealous of.
Exactly.
Jeez.
And one day, after several incidents of him, just being really rude and obnoxious to me at jobs and in front of people, and, it was a long time coming, he said to me, you have to choose between your career and me. And I was like, I'm choosing my career, so you can go now, because you don't say that to me.
Good for you. Bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It took a lot of courage to get to that place.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and we lived together, so that was another thing that was, thrown in. But luckily, it ended up working out perfectly. And I was like, all right, I'm going to stay single. I am going to live the single, free life for a while after being with this terrible person. And he, being the wonderful, always supportive friend that he is, was just like, hey, you should come over. We'll have dinner. We'll talk. We'll watch Stranger Things, because he knows that that's like a big comfort thing for me. And I went over, stayed the night like I normally do on the couch. And then the next day, it's going to sound really cheesy, but there was like this shift that I felt in my life. And we were curled up on the couch, and he just started, we just gradually started getting closer together. And he said to me, I feel like I want to kiss you. Is that okay? And I said, yes, absolutely.
What a gentleman.
Never stopped.
And it never ends. And we, with everything going on, it was so nice because we managed to find this wonderful paradise between the two of us. And it's been so great since. I mean, every time I think it can't get better, it does.
But first, it was really funny because we both wanted to try, because we both had just gotten out of 3-year relationships, and we both wanted to stay single, but have a little fun in the meantime.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we agreed, like, we're just gonna stay friends with benefits.
We thought that's where we were.
That's what it is, and we thought it was like that for a good 2 to 3 months before it, like, out of nowhere was like, no, we're not just friends with benefits.
Oh no, caught the feelings.
Yeah.
Caught the
No,
feelings
and
for realsies.
we were like looking back, we were like, oh, people don't go for walks and look at waterfalls and go out on dates when they're just friends with benefits.
No, that's dating.
Exactly. So yeah, and it was just, everything just fell completely into place there. And we have this wonderful connection with HHN. Turns out he always had a bit of a crush on me, and I always had a bit of a crush on him. But I thought he was out of my league, and you thought
you still are out of my league. That's
But needless to say, we got this wonderful happy ending. And
I'm so happy for the both of you. I thought it was like during your breaks or something that you started to be all flirty, and then you started dating during the season. But it's like well after the season. That's amazing. Like it lasted that whole time, and then you got together later. That's cool. Congratulations. I'm happy for you both. You seem really happy together.
Oh, we are.
Yeah. Let's get to some of those juicy scares, like the really like the reactions you got.
You should start with this one.
With the person who had relieved themselves, number 2.
I think whoa. Okay, first off, anyone in the chat, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to chat with us. I am looking at it, so hi Frenchie, hi Colleen. Hi, Loki Games. I just want to say hi to all of you. And if you want to, like, share this live stream with anyone else who's interested in scare acting or just want to hear some fun stories, we're going to share some stories of our scares. So feel free. Frenchie says, so who's going to do the Halloween Horror Nights? Halloween Horror Nights is canceled this year. So, but we are reminiscing of our Halloween Horror Nights days.
Yes.
And I think that's a good transition. So please talk about someone relieving themselves in a hilarious way.
Soiling themselves. Yeah, so from what I heard when I first started working at Universal is that, you know, a lot of people will piss themselves or whatever, and that's always fun, but everyone's like, if someone can poo themselves, that's like
the winner. Yeah.
That's the winner right there. And I was lucky enough to have a well, anyway, I'll get it.
Lucky enough? Is that the
No. I don't know if that's
He's
the right
lucky
word, but
because he gets to check that off the bucket list.
He was that good.
Yes.
There's that scare actor bucket list, and he gets to check it off.
To set up what this scare was, it was a last-minute character that they added. It was supposed to be like a floating head illusion with Will Byers.
Because, you know, that happens in the show, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So basically what I would do is I'd have the Will Byers mask on, the horse blinders, basically.
Yeah.
And I'd be in a maze host black robe with a flashlight, and it was a very, very dark hallway. The whole thing behind the hallway was they had the strings that would hang down. It kind of felt like spider web.
Oh, I hate those.
But
then the stranger strings.
But then, of course, people pulled the strings down in the first week, and then there's no more strings.
Right. Naturally.
But anyway, so then they put me in there as Will with the maze host cloak on, and I'm supposed to, like, when people come through and they completely blind and can't see anything, that I flick the flashlight on, and it's like a floating head. It didn't work that well.
That's a good idea. Execution needs work, but okay.
Yeah. So it was very.
But he owned it.
Well, no, because I was maze host Will now.
Yeah.
So the best way to get the scare at that point was I have a flashlight. I'm in a maze host robe. People are coming around. It's like a U-shaped hallway, and there's a curtain in the middle. So when people first come through that curtain, they've already been blinded for the first section. Now they're coming through the curtain. So I can just use my flashlight, keep my head down, and like wave them along the ground like a maze host would. And then they think that I'm a maze host until the last second. I just come right up in their face with that. And it worked like 95% of the time. And I had so many people coming in that are like, no, you can't do that. You're supposed to be on our side.
That was so great.
And this one woman comes in, and she's not paying attention. She's on her phone, just like looking down, going through. And those people are always mildly annoying because it's like, really, why would you come to this if you're just going to sit there on your phone and walk through?
I always get in between their line of vision and the phone and see if I can get a reaction from them. Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. She wouldn't pay attention. I keep trying to like get in front of her, and then finally I was like, you know what, screw this. So I just like stuck in between the phone and her head and flicked the light, and she throws her phone all the way out into the next scene, and she flies back probably 10 feet hits the wall and drops down, and then you just hear, oh. I think I pooped myself. And then she walks out, and 20 seconds later, you could just smell just wafting in. That was like that was why I thought it was so great, was because not the smell of the poop, obviously, but because it was a confirmed kill.
Yes. Yes, it's not just they said it. Oh no, you know it's true now.
Yes. So that was probably one of the best ones.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Thank you.
I tip my hat. Oh my god. And I think that's a brilliant idea because maze hosts, like the show control people, they end up accidentally scaring people all the freaking time anyway. So when you put yourself in a cloak that already does scare people, and then you surprise them and be like, haha, never mind, I'm still a scare actor. Oh my god.
It was funny too, because they used to have a maze host in that room, like in that hallway. But every time I'd come onto set, the guy would just be like, yeah, I mean, you're basically doing my job for me and doing double time with the scaring thing. I'll just go somewhere else. And he'd just leave. And it worked. I like that even better because then I had the whole area to myself, and it was just like,
Yeah, because it would be weird if it was like two cloaked people and one is doing the scare, the other is like, no flash.
Yeah, so it worked out perfect. He would just see me there, and he's like, all right, I'm leaving.
That's so sad. Like no one told him to go. He just kind of left. That's weird.
He just kind of left. I guess eventually they figured out that whenever maze host Will is on set, you don't need another maze host because he's literally doing the maze host job by trying to wave people through.
It's just the extra step of blah, I'm in a mask, and then keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worked though, because everyone seriously thought, because they'd come through that curtain, and the curtains are like, they're only 4 feet long or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'd flash the light down at their feet and then like start guiding them through, and then they come through.
Learn them with a false sense of security.
Okay. He's a maze host. He's flashing us through. Okay. Nah! Surprise.
Oh, the fools.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. But did you...
on our side? That's not fair.
I love that reaction. Hey, Just Vlogs. Welcome back. Frenchie, how much do these scary monsters that work at Universal make? Are we allowed to reveal that?
Are we allowed to reveal that?
I don't know. Minimum.
I'm not
I'll say
sure.
minimum wage.
Minimum wage, but because you work late hours into the night, you do usually get overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It depends on where you work in and how long it is. Because like before, when we had Terror Tram would end around 11 or midnight, depending on what day of the week it was. But every other maze was open until about 2, and then you might have people trickling through until about 3, and then you have to get out of makeup, and then you're not heading out until like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. Exactly. So it really depends on where you work, what you're doing, how crowded it is, what day of the week it is. A lot of factors go into it, so I can't say exactly how much you make, but I will say it's minimum wage. It's nothing fancy.
It's minimum wage, but you do get a lot of opportunities for that sweet overtime.
It's the overtime that really, like, that's what the people want.
It's the overtime, yeah, because when you're hitting, I mean, I remember there were some weeks that I was hitting almost 60 hours a week.
Yeah, same.
In just 4 days, 60 hours, and it was like, you get 18, 20 hours of overtime. So that's when it really starts to, it's grueling sometimes, but, that's where the money is, right there is the overtime.
But we don't do it for the money. No. You really don't. It's...
No, and like the money's nice, and being part of the union is nice, but you do it because you love to scare, and Universal takes care of us, so we come back every year. But, what other fun stories do you have to tell? Pete, you told yours. Xandra,
yes, yes, you.
Well, it's pretty funny because our maze was one of the mazes chosen to be on the Ellen show. So Ellen's people walked through the maze, and I was really excited because I got to be Joyce for it. And this is a pretty fast story, but the guy she sent in, his name is Kalen something. I forget his last name. But Kalen on the Ellen show, if you know who he is, you know what I mean. And he walked in and he said the most iconic line that everybody in my life repeats back to me, which is that Winona Ryder? She gone crazy.
Yep.
And I always say that'll be my legacy someday. I want that like on a plaque. So that was funny. But my favorite people to scare, especially as Joyce, are the 6'5" buff security guys.
Yes.
Because they come in and they think
with the
that,
frat boy
or the frat
mentality.
boys too.
The broy bros.
Oh,
yeah.
Bruh, I'm not
Macho
scared.
men.
I'm not scared of this. And they come in, and it's so funny because being Joyce, I had the advantage that I'm, just a little unassuming mom doing my thing.
Once again, false sense of security.
Exactly. Once again, false sense of security. And when I would scare them, I remember one time this guy like a little girl and like went back against the wall. And all his friends were like, "What? Of all the things there, God damn it, dogs, you're afraid of joy?"
It was always great with those guys too, because all the bros had a very specific thing that they would do. Every time they'd walk into a room, they'd always like, nonchalant, whatever. They get about halfway through, they kind of do a quick scan, then they keep going back to their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they always, every single time before they leave the room, they do a quick shoulder check just to make sure that there's still no danger, and that's when you hit them. It's that last little like, and then,
No, I used to do that too. It would be so great because obviously when people come through the maze, you get the people who are stupid and want to try to touch you or just like in your face, and you like, okay, idiot, please continue on. But every time they would do that, I was in the buyer's living room, and it was pretty big. And every time they would do that, I would just get up right next to them and just walk and glare at them. And they wouldn't expect me there. And they'd just turn around and be like, "Whoa!" And it was great. But my all-time favorite story is, I love kids who come through the maze and enjoy it. Like, they're having fun.
They're not traumatized. They're not sobbing. Their parents aren't dragging them. Yeah.
Oh,
No.
God, those people.
We have very strong opinions of people who, But
Yes.
the kids who are having fun with it, they're the best. And because Stranger Things is a show that so many kids do love, we did have a bunch of younger people coming through the maze, and they would be excited. And I remember one time there was this little boy who was probably like 7, and he comes in and I scared him, and he goes, "Mrs. Byers, you scared me."
Oh, that's so precious.
The whole world, and my entire heart melted. I also loved when people would come in dressed as the characters, because then you could play off of them. Like, every time someone would come in like a Scoops Ahoy uniform, I'd be like to them. Or people would come in wearing the season 3 Hopper shirt a lot, and every time I saw them, I would get like really sad, and people would be like, "Oh, she's dead." So with this maze, it was fun because not only did you have the scares, you got to kind of do a little bit of character acting as well.
Get to be a part of the show, yeah.
Exactly. I loved it.
And that's the beautiful thing about Universal, because working for Universal, you feel like you're part of the show or the movie that your characters are from. Like, they do such a good job with the makeup and the sets and everything. Like, you really feel like, oh my God, I'm on the set. Have any of the actors or actresses from the show gone through when you were working, as far as you know? Were you able to scare them?
I don't think we had any of the actors come through this year.
I think it was just the writers of the show.
The writers of the show, the Duffer Brothers.
Okay.
We did get to scare them. That was really great. That was really...
I don't know if I was on set for them, or was I?
You might have been. I don't know. I know I was. Just barely. Like, I just barely got to see them. So.
I couldn't see anything, so.
That is true.
Yes.
I feel your pain.
Did this person go through? And I was like, no, I just saw Blob move vaguely past my vision.
Me. And how you could always see me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because this is a nice story. I like it. I think it's cute.
So I could always see her going through the maze because of her Winona makeup, especially under the lighting that she was in. And she does all of her own makeup, by the way.
I do, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
She would like make it super, super contrasty.
Yeah, like I contour my face
a lot
to
of
play
contour.
her. And I would make sure it was extra, just...
Because you're going to be working in shadow anyway with poor lighting, might as well accentuate it. Yeah, I got you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when I couldn't really make out, unless I like had time to stop and like look at a person, I wouldn't be able to really tell who that person was. It was just, there's a figure there.
Yeah.
But consistently, she was the only person that I could actually make out because her contouring and everything was so dramatic. I could actually glance over and see it, whereas with most other people I couldn't, because like I'd have to actually get up close to them and take a second to try and see who they are.
gives a different meaning to you were the only one he looked at. You're the only one he saw. He only had eyes for you. He couldn't see anyone else, so. Oh, it was foreshadowing.
Yes.
It really was.
It's fun to look back at all those moments, be like, wait, no, it kind of led up to this. That's so weird.
We have a lot of those.
Yeah.
If you look at every picture that we have together, it from way before, even when I was still with my ex at the time. We all had a trip to Disneyland. Was I with? Yeah, I was standing next. I was standing next to you for that picture when we all went over to my mom's house for that anti-Thanksgiving party.
You and I were next to each other, and she was with.
Anti-Thanksgiving meaning a pre-Thanksgiving where we do hot dogs and burgers as opposed to all the turkey stuff.
Oh, okay. I was like, are you just opposed to Thanksgiving and still celebrate it anyway? Like
opposite Thanksgiving, like a couple days before Thanksgiving.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Friendsgiving.
Friendsgiving, yes.
But with barbecue food instead of turkey.
Now I want barbecue. You guys, I'm so hungry. Anyway, Jesse Vlogs says that they have been going to Horror Nights every year and have every year since 14. So wanted to say hi because she's a big fan of Horror Nights.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So asked, did any celebrity do any guest appearance? Did you see any celebrities? So they already answered that they didn't scare any of the actors from the show, Stranger Things, but were there any other celebrities? And real quick before you answer that, Jess T Vlogs, yes, of course I remember you from the first interview. Come on. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the support. So yeah, any celebrity sightings?
Yes. So
I love this story.
One of our other friends that's in our friend group, his name is Kyle. He was Steve Harrington. And so Steve and I, because Ariana Grande actually goes through pretty much.
Oh, she's a frequent. Yeah.
She goes through like 3 times in a row. So we had her a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all in a row. And so it kind of became this like flirtatious competition between me and my friend, he's the very next scare after me, of like who we can try and get Ariana to like wave to and all that. And I did end up winning the competition because she did say hi, Will.
No, I was thinking the other one you had.
Oh, with LeBron?
Yeah.
And then there was one with LeBron. You don't know who that is? LeBron James, very famous basketball player.
Sports ball. Even though I don't follow sports, I know who LeBron James is. That's how big this is.
I don't know anything about sports either, but but
everyone knows LeBron. Come on, yeah.
He is. I don't know how tall he is, but too tall. And so
there's 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", and then somewhere up here is just too tall. Don't bother counting.
Yeah, and he's a couple inches past that.
Just plus some.
So I still can't see anything, and I'm trying to make a scare, and so I throw myself over and come up on this guy, and I'm trying to scare him, and I just like I keep trying to find the face, and I just keep looking up, and I'm like, he's like way up here, and then I look forward, and I'm like at belly button crotch level basically.
Oh God.
And I just remember he kind of like looks back down at me, and then he just kind of pats my head.
Oh no!
As like I'm throwing my entire body into trying to scare this person, and it's just like, hi.
Boo! Wait.
he just pats me in the head, and I walk back to the sink, and he's just
nice try.
Oh.
Oh.
I think I made him sad.
Oh. What a heart of gold. I mean.
I love that story.
Oh, so precious. All right, Jesse Vlogs. Dash sent me a message earlier, and he said you were doing an interview tonight, and he said go watch Noelle. LOL. So here I am tonight. Well, thank you for being here. If anyone has any questions or like other stories they want to hear, feel free to comment. But other than that, we have about 10-ish minutes left. Any other fun stories that you have that you want to share? Any fun reactions?
We've got about a year's worth of podcasts of stories.
No, but there was
let's do it.
There was one that I really loved. This guy came in, and if you haven't gathered by the rest of this interview, I'm a big Winona Ryder fan.
What? This is
know,
news to me.
I keep it on the down low. Also, it's her birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday.
You gotta tweet at her. Yeah, like, look, this is me as you.
Oh my god,
Happy
she's
birthday.
not on any social media. I want her to see me so badly, but it's never happened. So if you're watching this and you know how to get to Winona, I think we're gonna share my handles at the end of this.
Yes.
So anytime anyone would call me, and I noticed more often people would call me Winona more than Joyce.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show like what an impact as an actor she has, that people see the character but immediately are just like Winona, not even Joyce. And so I have a lot of people coming in like Winona, and it made me feel like Winona.
Oh.
But this one guy comes in and I'm like over the couch, I'm not paying attention to him. But I just hear Winona, and I turn around and it's this guy, and he's wearing a shirt that says Winona. And all his friends are like, yeah. And he looks and he's like, yeah, I came to this maze just to see you. And I'm all like, and he's like, no, you are amazing. You are making a huge comeback, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You are awesome. I love you, Winona. And I was just like,
well, that was your in. You needed to forward that message to Winona.
yes,
Be like,
I do.
Hey, someone thought I was you. Someone thought I was you, but I'm not you. But this was clearly meant for you. So here's what they said. Also, love me, please. Like,
I need her to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was. We just had the best
so much
time. The best.
So
time.
much fun.
Yeah.
aw. Steve vlogs. Sorry, are there any photo opportunities that we can have at Horror Nights like last year that we will have next year? I meant in any of the mazes or with any of the scare actors. We don't know next year. That does not get announced until after it's already cast. So like we might hear a maze here and there. They start designing it well in advance.
Beetlejuice this year, which I'm very sad did not come to fruition.
Oh, I would have loved. Yeah, and then you could have been Lydia. Jesus.
Right? That would have been.
But yeah, we are not in charge of that, and we will not know that even until after we are cast. So that's announced more in like the orientation stage of things. So I don't know. Do the studios do the makeup? Yes. For Universal Horror Nights, at least. The makeup is... You said you did your own makeup, Xandra.
I did my own. I did get cleared by them. When I went to my costume fitting, I was like, look, I play Winona professionally all the time. Here's what I do for my makeup. Would it be okay if I did this for Horror Nights? And they said, oh, yeah, absolutely, by all means. And it made it really easy, too, because I could do it before work. So I could just show up and be ready to put on my costume, get my wig on, and go.
Nice. Yeah. So we have people hired as makeup artists to do the makeup, either just makeup or prosthetics and makeup, whatever masks that you need. Like we have people for that. But in Xandra's case, if you want to do your own makeup and you've done it before for like that specific character and that specific look they're going for, all you have to do is ask and get cleared by head honchos. So you definitely need to get clearance. You can't just do your own makeup. But yeah, we have people for that.
Yeah. Our Steve Harrington, he always for a while when he was playing Steve, he had to wear a wig, but eventually he got cleared to be able to use his natural hair, which looked way better.
He's
than
pretty much Steve in real life. So
he has Steve's hair. Like he's got all the hair for it. So there was no reason why he should wear a crappy black hair mask or whatever.
Yeah.
Dark hair, not mask, wig.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to his natural hair, which was
yeah. They usually cast they typecast for sure. So if you already look like the character, why put a wig on it? I don't know.
Yeah.
He started off in Pool, so
yeah.
Oh, that's probably why. Yeah, if he wasn't like originally cast as the character, then yeah, it was like.
Well, Steve was added in a little later into the run, so
he was made permanent eventually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good.
Thank God, he was amazing.
Yeah, they didn't have a Steve for the first couple weeks of the run. That was just
didn't.
even though they had a hide for him, they just never had a Steve.
That's interesting. I
There was
wonder
a
what
hide.
happened there.
There were so many spots that were like that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh no. I think I went through that maze. Must have gone through at least 2 or 3 times. And
Okay.
I loved it. I loved it. I thought the sound was like too loud at some points, but other than that, like I loved it. I wish I could have a better memory of like specific people popping out at me so I could like look at you guys and go, "Oh yeah, you were that one."
There were 2 places where Joyce was. She was in the living room and in the Upside Down, and she wasn't always in the living room.
Yeah, I remember the living room. I remember that and everything. So very good reason. The second time I went through was with my boyfriend, I believe, before he was working. Like, he knew he was gonna be working it, but we, like, took a night to, like, go through everything as ourselves. And then the third time I went through, he was working it, and I timed it right, so that was one of his walkthroughs that he had to go through and test everything and make sure the lights work and everything. And he did the same for Killer Clowns. So I went through, like, Killer Clowns with him one night, too. When he was working, I visited a lot when people were working, especially when he was working, because he.
You should ask him about the Stranger Things bathroom soundtrack.
Yeah, the sync soundtrack with the lights. I am definitely gonna ask him about that. I'm gonna put him on the hot seat and be like, "Did you know? Were you in charge of this? What is this?"
Like the 7 frames, and it was so funny because the first night or 2 we knew that something wasn't right with the sound, and we kind of pinpointed it ourselves, me and the other person who played Will. And we went to management and we're like, hey, something's not right about this. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. And they went back up to, corporate. They came back down. They're like, nope, that's exactly how we designed it. It's perfect. And then eventually our supervisors would sit in and listen on the sound. And over the course of a couple minutes, they'd be able to clearly see that it's starting to drift now.
Yeah.
So they heard it too. And they kept going back up. And it got all the way to the point where they actually sent our supervisors the sound and said, no, your actors are just terrible. Here's the sound. Send it to them and have them practice it.
And he still has
it. So fortunately, I have the actual track.
When we're feeling nostalgic, we listen to it.
But it got to that, like, literally, they were telling us that we are the idiots. And then they finally got somebody else down there. He sat there for 5 minutes. Again, I didn't know who he was because I can't see much. I was
gonna say, what does he look like?
I figured he worked there, but
I don't think it would have been my boyfriend. Unfortunately,
all the other guests were going through. He just kind of sat there for 5 minutes. I figured he worked there, and then a bunch of guests finally finished coming in, and he tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "All right, we know what's wrong. We're gonna get on that."
And they did.
And then they
did. Maybe
but
listen to the actors next time. Save yourself some trouble.
2 weeks to the end.
You know, I gotta say, too, thank you so much for having us, because it's so nice talking about all this stuff, because it's like I'm visualizing it all in my head, and I can, see it all, and it's bringing back really happy memories.
I'm glad. I'm so glad that you were able to be here to talk and chat and scare act stuff, and obviously I'm nostalgic, because I took a year off, and then I was forced to take this year off, so I was hoping to go back, make some more memories, but... You know, you reminisce, and it's nice. And you also have that added benefit of, like, looking back to the scare acting days and how it led into your relationship, too. So that's, like a little extra fun of, like, clearly you caught on to little things even during this interview, because I saw you probably like, oh, yeah, like...
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Yeah, it was foreshadowing, wasn't it? Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah. And I don't know if you have opportunities to talk about scaring other than for, like, specific moments, but it doesn't really come up.
Bring it up whenever we can.
I share a lot of stories at work, yeah.
Yeah.
But getting to talk about it like this so much is just so nice.
I'm glad you guys are having fun. Yeah. And if you ever want to be interviewed again, if you come up with other stories that you'd like to share, because I know an hour, it seems like a long time, but really when you're talking about scaring, it is not a long time at all.
We could fill another hour segment easily. If not,
I love it. I am booking stuff for December. I know that's a long way away, but if you guys are interested in being interviewed again, send me the info. Just let me know, and I'll let you guys know when the next available slot is, so we could chat more Scareactor stuff. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, our time is about up. We have about 2 minutes left before I have to get my boyfriend on here and talk about the other side of scaring, which is the tech side of the mazes, which will be fun. And, you know, he's really nice to hop on here and just fill in the second segment. So, last minute changes, right? So, would you like to talk about your project now and plug that?
Yes, I really would. Like I've been saying this whole time, Stranger Things is a huge part of my life. And the main reason for that is because since 2018, I've actually been writing and developing an original stage musical based on Stranger Things.
Oh.
It is a full-scale, full-length musical with all brand new original songs written by me, and it is a telling of season 1. So the events of season 1 are what my show's based on. A lot of 80s influence in the music, and the story you know and love, but just expanding on it, because with music you do have that added emotion, and it is such an emotional story. So much connection between the characters that a couple of years ago I was like, why isn't this a musical? This writes itself. And it was really great, especially getting to be in the Stranger Things maze at Horror Nights, because when you're immersing yourself in the world like that, ideas were just coming naturally to me all the time, and actors were coming to me all the time. So many of my fellow scare actor friends, including my wonderful boyfriend here, were in the maze and are now actively involved in my musical. We were originally going to debut the show in spring of this year, but the world had other plans. So as of now, we are actually getting ready to record and release some demos with the cast. So you will get to hear what they sound like and what some of the songs sound like, and hopefully in the next year we will have a live performance in the Los Angeles area. If you want to follow that, on Instagram, our page is Stranger Things a Musical. Not the musical, a musical. You can also find us on Facebook under the same name, Stranger Things a Musical. Really, really exciting stuff. You, who were never really an actor before, you know, now he's involved in my show, playing Jonathan Byers, doing an incredible job with the role, just really embracing it. And you know, one of the things I love most about him is he is never afraid to try new things, and whenever he does something, he is fully invested in it, and the show is no exception. So if you're a Stranger Things fan and you're watching this, especially if you're in the LA area, please follow the show. Let us know what you think, and hopefully we will be debuting it soon. And then you have all your stuff that you do.
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, that was your plug. I'm not plugging anything.
You can plug something. Come on.
I don't have.
Plug
I have an automotive YouTube channel under the name Cars and Chaos. You can probably, well, no, it's actually going to be under Incindium Films. INCINDIUM, Incindium? Yeah. Incindium Films. If you're a car person, if you like anything involving motorsports, cars, motorcycles, anything like that, I've got a YouTube channel that pretty much deals with everything involving that. So
nice. Send me a link to it so that I could add it to the description, because I don't believe I was given that info. So if you want people to check it out, send me that, and I'll edit the description to include that too. But yes, for everyone, if you want to follow Stranger Things a Musical or Pete's automotive YouTube channel, what is it called again? I'm sorry.
Incindium Films.
Incindium Films.
And, I know you have a lot of followers on TikTok. We're both on TikTok. For him, it's Peter _D_Rich. Me, super easy to remember. I'm Lights and Magnets, like Joyce. Lights on the wall and magnets on my fridge.
Follow her page on TikTok. She has all the.
I love TikTok. It's super fun. So definitely find me on there, and then my Instagram, where I also post a wide gamut of things, usually going back to Stranger Things, is Xandra
Oh, sorry, you cut out at the end there
Hey,
when you were
Lisa,
saying
we
your
keep busy.
handle. Yeah.
Oh, we cannot hear you. Yes.
I think there's a little...
Xandra_things
there we
is
go.
My Instagram.
And that is in the description below. So yes, follow them on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. I will edit the description to make sure that it includes all the information, including the YouTube channel. But yeah, anything else you guys want to plug real quick? You good?
That's it for me. That's all I do.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, you guys. This is a lot of fun. I hope you had fun, too.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I never had, like, a couple of scare actors at the same time, so this was fun to, like, pick your brains and how you met, and scaring brings people together. Remember that.
It does.
Yes, it does.
No, it really does.
It really does. And we'll get into that a little bit more when I interview my own boyfriend next. We did not meet doing scaring, but through scaring in a way, and we'll get into that soon.
Right.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'll give you a proper goodbye. I'm going to send them to an intermission. So those in the live right now, do not go anywhere. I will be right back in a few minutes with my boyfriend, Glen. Do-do-do. Hello, welcome everybody. We are back. So, hi. Let me move that. That's on my other monitor. So, for those just joining the stream, hi, I'm Noelle, also known as Charge and Die. I tell Scareactor Stories on Instagram, TikTok, all the things. I just finished interviewing a cute couple, Xandra and Pete, who met through scare acting. And I thought it would be fun to interview my own boyfriend. He is not a scare actor, but he does work for haunts. So would you like to introduce yourself, Glen?
Hi, everyone. I'm Glen, as was stated. Yeah, so I am not what you would call a scare actor, but I do enjoy making people scared in other ways. I work behind the scenes. I'm a technician for a company called Radiance Lightworks, and we are in charge of all the lighting and some of the special effects in the Horror Nights mazes at Universal. So yeah, that's kind of my realm when it comes to haunts and scary stuff.
How did you get into that?
How did I? I got the gig at Radiance through a buddy of mine, Rob, who's a very talented, very experienced lighting designer. He and I were responsible for the Castle Light Show at Universal, so kind of a little plug there too. And there is a dark arts show, so I guess that could be considered scary.
It was a great show.
So
that was one of my favorite light shows, I guess. I'm trying not to be biased. It was my favorite light show. It was before we were even dating.
It's quite impressive. But yeah, Rob got me the gig at Radiance, and I started doing like little grunt work gigs here and there. And then when haunt season rolled around, they asked me if I was interested in becoming a master electrician for one of the mazes. And I, of course, said absolutely. And I found myself working with another talented designer, Dan Tuttle. He and I were responsible for the Halloween 4 maze back in 2018, I think it was. Yeah. And it was in the queue of Waterworld. So that was my home base there. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and that was the year we met.
Yeah, so like I worked in that maze, which is like right when you walk into the park. Often missed because people just walk right on by it.
Yeah, they don't think to take that right turn toward Waterworld.
No, not at all.
Unless they get a map and they're like specifically looking for it, yeah.
That, but also like, people are already scaring you by the time you pass the fountain.
That's where the chainsaws were, man. Yeah.
Well, later on.
Chased. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my maze, and then you were in Scare Zone 1, which is right next to the plaza.
Yes.
not like 100 yards away, so it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny that we were working so close, and I couldn't see out of my mask at all. So even if I did scare you, it was completely by accident, and I would not remember the face because I'm looking at everyone's shoes.
And I was stuck in a booth
Yeah.
whenever I did run a maze.
Can you talk a little bit more about that process, like what your job entails? Like what's a day in the life of you?
So there really is like two phases or actually technically three phases when it comes to like building and operating the maze. So the higher ups, like the main designers, they come up with the plots and the basic ideas of how to run or how to build and light a maze. Then we're split up into teams where there's really only two Radiance representatives, and then we have a separate labor crew come in. Usually it's PRG, but past few years it's been aspect lighting due to like budgetary and bidding reasons. So yeah, we lead the team. It's usually like a fair like 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, something like that, prior to the event. Usually the most of the structure is already built. So then what we do is we come in, we attach lighting fixtures to like the tops of the walls of the maze, to point down into where you actually walk as a guest. And we set up specialty items like usually there's an LED of some form or some form of strobe above what are called triggers. And the triggers are where like the jump scares happen, like a door opens and somebody goes blah, that kind of thing.
That's exactly what happens. We jump out and go blah.
The trigger is literally a button that the actor like smashes against the wall, and it triggers the lighting and the sound effects to go off, and then they pop out, and it all works in tandem.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
Yeah.
So we set up all that, all of the atmospheric lighting, all of the like the safety lighting. There's a lot of safety, especially when it comes to like the queue lines outside. We're responsible for setting up lights so the queue lines are lit. Otherwise, that is, I believe, fire code hazard. So
I didn't even think
wanna...
about queue lines. Like, yeah,
Yep.
that now that you say it, it seems so obvious. Like, yeah, you need light.
And they plan the mazes very, very cleverly, where there are actual like very small hallways and pass-throughs throughout the maze, so you can actually navigate through the maze without having to be in guest view, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But we also have to light those. And conveniently, since nobody's going to see it, we can use that area for a lot of our like cable runs and that kind of stuff. So we get very clever with it as well. And like there's challenges when working with a maze, especially when it comes to like the elements, nature. The worst part about our location at Waterworld was, we have those tarps up over the queue line, for Waterworld, but they're not waterproof. And they're all at like different angles and the very like abstract stacking on each other. And there's actually a couple spots where the tarps actually like angle towards a central location, and it just drains water. And
water and light do not mix.
Well, that's my other gig.
Yeah.
Well, what other gig?
It's to make it work.
Yeah. But that's probably the like most challenging thing, is working with the elements, and obviously the directors. But they're really cool to work with. Very, very respectful and very fun to collaborate with. And it's really fun to work with some of these like IPs, like we had Mike Myers. It was great time. There's a one day going into work, and each day, you top a day, you show up, drop your bag, and then you do a quick walk of the maze, see what's new, see what's different. what's been added, and nobody told us that they were going to be dressing the mannequins that were in the maze. Because like for the weeks prior, there were just mannequins like in place throughout the maze where there's going to be like a Mike Myers setup. Nobody told us that they came in and dressed them. So you walk in, turn a corner, and bam, there's a Mike Myers standing, like staring you in the face. And you're like, oh, okay.
So you get
After,
scared even when you're not supposed to be scared.
basically, it's like those little mundane things that freak us out. Otherwise, like if you're walking through, with all the effects going off and all that, it's like, yeah, you know.
So you get a little desensitized right away, knowing that it's gonna
yeah.
happen, and
Oh yeah.
well, scaregers are technically not supposed to scare you, but because you're checking for triggers and stuff, they kind of have to. Have there been any like awkward moments between you and a scare actor trying to do your job?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the worst ones are because like after the build phase, right? That's all the prep and setup before the event's actually running. While the event's running, you then get to do what we call babysit the maze, and it's literally what you're doing. Is you sit in the booth, you wait for all your team to show up, you do your checks, make sure everything's working, and then right before you open, you hit a master play button, and everything goes off at once. And it's loud. It's startling sometimes, and the most awkward thing was every hour we have to go and do a walk through the maze just to make sure everything's working, and try and keep an eye out for all of the triggers and all the scares to make sure those are still operational, because it is possible that things can go out of sync or break or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we do that with guests. Like we usually tag ourselves onto the back of a group of guests, and we usually have our employee badge on our necks so they can see that we're employees. You know, don't target us necessarily, but we go through, and if we need to see a trigger, we usually like hold back a little bit and then like try and spot where the camera is for the trigger, and just kind of do this.
Yeah.
Like,
no, press the trigger.
Press the trigger. Like, do it. I want you to do it. Like, here's my badge. Do it. And
I am special. Scare me.
But if you do that for all of them, and like there's like 14 to like 18 different triggers in the maze, depending on what year it is and what maze you're on. You just stand there and you're doing this and nothing happens, and you're like, I can't do my job now if you don't do your job.
Like you have to. Was it ever like they tried, it just wasn't working, and then you're just standing like that for a while?
If nothing happens, like truly nothing happens, and there is an actor there, after we finish our walkthrough, we'll usually like nip behind the curtain and go to the scare zone or the trigger zone, whatever, and just like confirm with the actor, like, hey, did you try and do it? Like, is it working for you? And also confirm that there even was an actor in place, because that's another one. Like, I can't just walk through and like open doors, make sure someone's there, and
Peekaboo.
that'd be bad. But yeah, then there's sometimes where they just totally like blank and don't do it for you, and then you carry on down the pathway, and then you hear it go off behind you for the next group tailing you in. It's like, oh, come on, man.
Come on, that was for me. Come on.
No, but
Yeah. Do you ever get close with the scare actors? Like, do you like get to know them a little better, or is it just like as you go through? Yeah.
I haven't been fortunate enough to be able to do a full run of an event. I've really only like stood in for a couple people who like needed a few days off or something like that. But I would probably say like the closest I got to the actors was 2019 with the Killer Clown Maze.
Oh yeah.
the guys and gals in that maze were just great. They were lots of fun. And whenever we do our walk, because we do it, every hour, and included in that one, I had to also walk the lower lot with all the scare zones with that and check all the lighting for that. So I got to see a lot of people and a lot of things. So a lot of the actors in the Killer Clown Maze, I would walk through and they'd see me come through and they'd notice me, and then they'd just like, goof around with me a little bit, like totally not what they usually do for guests, but for us, we kind of like have a little fun with them.
Yeah.
Like if they have like a squirt gun or something, they usually don't squirt us.
Good.
We can always tell them off afterwards, but
yeah.
who cares? It's water.
Yeah. Unless it damages something, then for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just water. But
like my favorite one was in Killer Clowns. The clown who does the shadow puppet.
Yeah.
His thing was just like standing there as people were going through, and I turned the corner and he just like point at me and like sort of goofing off, and then I'd point at him and like do the same thing. Oh. Chair,
okay. Calm down.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of like the fun stuff we get to do, because you really are just kind of trapped with this group of people for hours on end.
Might as well make it fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah, deafening noise and music going off, and yeah, it's a good time. It's fun.
So how many days did you work last year? Because I visited you, like, I tried to visit like every time you were working.
Yeah, I think I did. I want to say I did like 2 or 3 weekends with Killer Clowns, like not consecutive days, but like a few good like sessions. I really don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, it's been a year.
But yeah, well, yeah.
It's been a year.
And then I also did the strike for that maze.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. And then I did one weekend at the Stranger Things maze.
Yes, fun. And I want to talk to you about that. When in the run was your time with Stranger Things? Like, how close to the end was it?
I want to say it was about midway.
Okay.
I think about mid run, I want to say.
Okay, because I just interviewed Xandra and Pete, and they were both in the Stranger Things maze. Pete was he played Will when he's facing the mirror and he just like threw up that slug thing.
Yes,
that
in the transformation room. Yeah.
Yes, so he was in that transformation room, and he said that there was an issue with the sound and the light not being in sync, and they didn't believe the actors for the longest time. They just said like, oh, that's the actors' problem, they're not doing their job right. And Pete and his partners were like, no, it's off by like, one was going like 10 frames, another was going 7, so it like started off in sync and would slowly go off sync and then eventually make its way back. You know that issue? Can you talk about it?
Oh, know it very well. I don't know that specific issue, but I know it is a very common issue. Because we had that issue in 2018 at Halloween for Mike Myers, in like the big like diner room, mm-hmm. where like Mike Myers is behind the pane of glass that's it's like a not a Pepper's ghost, but like a disappearing mirror kind of deal. And then the detective was like taking shots at him or whatever.
Yeah, I know. So like you walk in the room, you see the detective taking a shot, you go around the table, and that's when Mike would appear.
Pop out, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you go through. Yeah, I remember that.
Same deal. He had like 3 lines. The detective or whoever, he's like, "Damn you," and then he'd take his shots.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'd start firing, and then he'd say "damn you" in the middle of the shots. And then, but like, it's exactly what you said. Like, it's like, I think it was like one was like 16 frames, and then one was like 12 or 13. I
It's
don't
just
remember.
ever so slightly off.
Mhm.
That eventually it becomes
Yeah.
very obvious while
Oh
it's
yes.
making its way back around. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
We were struggling to try and figure out like how can we get this to sync up like every time. But that's the tricky thing, because like when you're talking tech wise, right? Your
Mhm.
general audience, you're playing to an audience for an average of like 3 to 4 seconds, depending on the size of the room. So you have to take that into account. But you can't just have like the 2 or 3 second thing looping over and over and over again.
Mhm.
It's best to just have like a long string of them, and then have a long string of lighting effects to go along with that. But oh man, when it does like get mixed up, it mixes up.
And it becomes
It's rough.
very obvious very
Yeah,
fast.
and that does it happens because uh like you said, like it just a few frames off. And they're two different companies, because it's Radiance that does the lighting, and then it's Diablo who does audio and video.
Mhm.
So we have to work together with those guys a lot to sync up those sequences. Um, but sometimes people get pulled off to go do other projects, like because it's not just like one to one, like this person and then here's your crew and you're dedicated to that maze. Like here's this one person in charge of these 3 or 4 things, and then you have a crew.
Mhm.
Excuse me. So it can be tough to try and get that dedicated time that you need to work out these little issues. And that could be one thing that just slipped by. Like, you press the master play button, you go do your walk, and it's working just fine. But say like an hour and a half later, it's off.
Yeah, it's one
Uh,
of those things where you just have to like stand there for 2 minutes and see if it's
yeah.
the same. Yeah.
Well, or you sit there for an hour and you see how far it gets off.
Yeah.
And if it is as bad as like some people say it could be, um, that's when we would have to like halt the maze and actually do a full reset. It happens. It does. We don't like it, but when you got to do it, you got to do it. Especially if it means like you're risking the artistic integrity of the maze
Oh yeah.
by letting it run.
For
So,
sure.
yeah.
So you didn't experience that particular issue in Stranger Things.
No, I only had 2 nights there at Stranger Things, and I didn't experience it at all.
But you're familiar with the issue and it's
Oh
common.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yes. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that
Oh
issue.
yeah. Yeah.
So, when you go through, obviously you're going through as a guest ish. You're going through with guests.
Yes.
Going through. Do you watch a monitor at any point where you could see the scare actors doing their job, or is it only when you're going through that you see their scares?
So we can kind of get an idea of what's happening in the tech booth, because in the tech booth, like, okay, picture, if you will, like a small apartment room, much like this one, but smaller. And you have to pack in all of the lighting, like control systems and supplies and all that stuff, all the audio equipment and controls, as well as security. Security has their own system that they set up. It's like this small little road case, full of equipment that they just kind of tuck into a corner, and then they attach like 2 or 3 computer monitors to the walls, and it's very much like like security cameras, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, however they lay it out. And it's to give them a view of every step of the maze, so they can monitor guests to make sure that they are safe and that the characters are also safe, because sometimes guests get a little unruly. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as I'm
I
sure
know.
everybody knows. Yep. And if that happens, um, scare actors can dip out, go to the monitor, be like, this person, this is what they're wearing, try and describe them, and try and catch them on the monitor. So then security and a lead can then catch them at the exit and be like, this is what you just did. We caught you. You're in trouble. Like that kind of thing. So those monitors come in handy for us because we can watch where the triggers happen to see if they're actually happening,
Mm-hmm.
and just like all the general effects, and see if like anything's off. And then if we really think something's off, we can always just dip out and go through the maze real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mist Bloodshed says, "Oh, that's really cool."
yeah,
Yeah, it is
yeah,
cool. And I got to see it a little bit when we went to Not Scary Farm that one
yeah,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very similar. In fact, their setup was way better than what we have because they actually had like an HQ.
Mm-hmm.
Knott's works a little different because typically their mazes are like on offstage zones, so they don't really need to get rid of them if the haunt season isn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
So the one we went through, Paranormal Inc.,
Yeah.
that had like the best setup I've ever seen. Because not only do like the security have their setup, but lighting and audio, all the effects, they also need their own monitoring system because they have effects that you can actually control live.
And we did. We got to press a button
Yeah.
that shot like a burst of air,
puff of air,
real
yeah.
puff of air as people were walking
great.
by. So you would look at the camera, and as the people were walking by, you could kind of get a feel for where that puff of air is coming from.
Yeah.
So you could time it. So you could like, just scare the person as they're walking by. And
Yeah.
it was really funny.
Oh, it's tons of fun.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, like not Radiance, but Universal doesn't really have that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um,
As far as I know, no.
yeah, they have all their stuff like automated. So like, every however many seconds a puff will happen or a squirt of water, whatever.
And a lot of the times it's the scare actor who does it too.
That too. Yeah.
Because like we have water, but we'll have to press our own button or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, it's a good time.
Sounds it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of doing it?
Oh man, that's
What keeps you
know.
coming back for more every year?
I mean, I that's what I do. That's my life. I love lighting and effects and that kind of stuff. Like I am always behind the scenes of live entertainment. That's me. And this is no different. It's like it's just a massive stage, if you will, that guests walk through instead of like sit in the audience. Like the stage is their environment. And so as they walk through, you have to set the stage for each scene. And like I said before, you only have like 3 or 4 seconds per scene. So you got to make an impression. Otherwise, they're not going to be impressed by it, or like you're not going to leave an impression.
That just sounds so challenging. Because like it's challenging in and of itself when you're doing live theater and you have to, get all the lighting correct and time it right for the scenes and everything. But here at a haunt, it's like it's constantly going for hours on end. You got to make sure everything is lit enough to be safe, but not so lit that it ruins a scare. And it's very particular. Yeah. Oh my god, it's just it's a lot, and a lot of stuff goes into scaring. That's why I wanted to talk to Glen to give people another idea of what goes on behind the scenes, because it's not just scare acting. We couldn't do a whole lot without the lighting, without the sound, without the costumes and the ambiance and everything. So we could scare, but it'd be really awkward to just have me as this, be like, I got you. So it all comes together like that, and I'm so excited to be able to get the other side of it. So do you have any fun scare stories? It's not Scareactor story necessarily, because you're not the scare actor, but have you seen or been scared yourself, or any fun reactions?
I think the most memorable thing for me, again, going back to the Killer Clowns maze, it's the end of the maze. For those of you who were there for 2018, the
2019.
semi-finale, 2019. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, for Killer
2019.
Clowns. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The semi-finale of that maze was Clownzilla, and it was this massive 4-foot in diameter globe of a giant clown head. And if you've seen the movie, it's of the giant clown monster Godzilla thing. And they had one on a pendulum swing, and there'd be an actor behind the clown head.
The blackout actor. So blackout actors are the ones operating those big kind of machines, like triggers, all that stuff. They're fun.
Or
Right.
sometimes they'll have a little arm puppet or something, and they'll do that kind of thing. Again, Killer Clowns maze, those little clownettes that would pop through the bathroom vanity, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's all blackout actor.
Basically, the ones that wear black to blend in more, rather than be the ones jumping out and being a character. So if they're the ones operating something. Yeah. Sorry, continue. In case people didn't know.
Yeah. Up until the last day of strike, I hated that Clownzilla head. I would not go near it if I could help it. And during strike, there were a few lighting instruments up, tucked up above the Clownzilla head, up in the rafters of it, and I had to go retrieve them. So I had to get real close with that Clownzilla head, and I was not a fan of it.
Did it ever pop out and scare you?
I think it did, because
you blocked it out.
It probably did, because that's one thing that gets me every time, are giant things, things that are bigger than me, because I'm not the smallest or the most average human being. I'm fairly tall, fair, but things that are bigger than me are far and few between. So anything bigger than me usually scares me.
I remember when we were going through, I'm going to put you on blast right now. Ha 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 ha. I love you. So we were going through Killer Clowns together, and I think it was before you were working it. I think it was that one night that we just wanted to go through the park together rather than me visiting you. Because we dedicated a day to that. And then I think you found out later that you were going to work it. I can't remember the timeline of it, but we went through together. So we went through Killer Clowns, and there was this one window up above us that a clown would pop out of.
Was that after the doors?
I can't remember if it was after the doors or not.
Another door, that kind of thing, and then boom.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, because yes, that one always got me.
Yeah, so a clown would pop out from above us. The clowns are so large as is, but add the height of the window that it pops out of, it is directly above you. Yeah. And I think you dropped to the ground. You were like, no.
I don't think. I think you're remembering wrong.
I think you dropped to the ground.
I did not drop to the ground. I may have
You flinched down. You didn't full on drop. You didn't fall butt on ground.
I didn't drop, but I did flinch. I will admit I did flinch to that one scare.
I'll say this. You got in that moment. I got got. And I did one of these to the actor, thank you. Thanks for getting it. Yeah. Miss Bloodshed, I saw it when Sharp Images put it on YouTube, but never lucky enough to go up for the clown maze. The clown you did on TikTok scared me while I threw my phone. I'm sorry, not sorry. It's what I do. I scare. But yeah, that was Zombie Harley Quinn. For those who don't know, I did a Zombie Harley Quinn on TikTok, and it's not my original clown character. It is Harley Quinn. I am her, body and soul. I love her so much. But I will be doing an original clown character. I don't have time before Halloween, unfortunately, so it's going to have to stretch into Christmas. So maybe I'll do a scary clown with Christmas aesthetic and combine the two. Scary elf! But I want it to be a clown. I mean, it'll have clown personality. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, so I'm sorry you threw your phone. That doesn't sound fun, but mwahaha, I scared you. That's my job. I like to scare.
Yeah.
At least if I'm not doing it in a haunt, at least I could do it through the phone. So thank you for admitting that. That makes me happy. So I think it's interesting. I'm going to talk about us for a second, because we were talking about the couple from before, Xandra and Pete. They were describing how they started dating, and it was interesting to me the fact that they worked the same maze. They were both in Stranger Things, and they didn't end up dating until March, because like they hung out just after the haunt was done. There were complications with like exes and stuff like that, but then eventually something clicked, and they were like, I like you. And so they started dating in March. And I thought that was interesting because we didn't work the same maze. Like we probably crossed paths, but not knowingly in 2018 when we were scaring. But we actually met online through OkCupid, of all things. And you kind of Facebook stalked me and found out that I work for Halloween Horror Nights, or at least I did Halloween Horror Nights, so that was one of our like conversation starters, right? Yeah. Don't get shy about it. It's cute. But yeah, that was one of the main things we talked about on our first date. I was like, wait, you worked Halloween Horror Nights? You're like, you worked Halloween Horror Nights? And then I found out that you worked for the Halloween maze, and then I worked just like 100 yards away. So that was fun. And you said I scared Kai, right? I'm so proud of that.
Yep.
Yeah. Kai's his ex-girlfriend. They're friends. They're still friends. I don't want to put her on blast either, but I don't... We're all friends to a degree. Like, I chat with her sometimes, too. But I find that so funny that you said for sure I scared her. When I don't remember who I scare. I can't see anything in my mask. For those who don't know, I've said this... Huh?
Yeah, I want to say you did scare her.
I would like to say that loud and proud, even if it's not true. I scared his ex-girlfriend, because it's hilarious. It's almost foreshadowing. Like, I don't know who I'm scaring. Boo! Scare current girlfriend of guy that I'm going to be dating. It's really weird to think about, but it's so funny. And for those who don't know, I say this a lot, but for those who don't know, I had no upper, lower, or peripheral vision in my wolf head, because the eyes were in the mouth. And then to have the wolf look at people, I had to look down. So I just saw a bunch of shoes. And a lot of the times I would get accidental scares because I was just turning and they weren't expecting me to turn and I didn't know they were there. But every so often, an employee would walk through my zone and I wasn't allowed to scare them. And I was trying to be careful not to scare people that worked there. But every so often, there would be someone who would complain specifically saying, oh, no one ever scares me when I go through. And I remember one time I perked up at that. And I was like, because you're an employee, we're not supposed to scare you. But, you know, I have a feeling this one's not going to report me if I do. So, and I like chased after him and I scared him so good. He almost dropped to the ground. He's like, yes, someone scared me. And I'm like, yay. Miss Bloodshed, don't you adopt children in your wolf? I did adopt a lot of children as the wolf. So, what I mean by adopt children is if I see a child who is scared or just having fun, but it was like that range of scared, but overall okay, to totally fine, having a great time, I would interact with them. If they seemed to want to hang out with me a little bit more, I would then scare the parents off or the guardian, whoever they were with, and then have the kid follow me around for a little while and have them scare other characters with me to try and make them feel a little more comfortable going through the haunt. But if the child seemed traumatized, like the other side of it, where it's like they're really scared, they want nothing to do with me, I'd keep a distance. So yeah, that was me. I adopt children. I adopt children when I scare. Mwahaha. But only if I'm in a scare zone. Because there I have the freedom to do so. Obviously, I'm not going to adopt a kid if I'm in a pop-out in a maze. Because that would be complicated.
Mazes and zones are, like, vastly different.
How would you light a zone versus a maze?
So, a maze, you set, like, the environment, right? Like you're in this one moment in time during the storyline, because naturally there is a storyline, especially with Universal and the big names that they have. So you set the scene for that bit of story in that one section of the maze. But also you try and, like, if at all possible, you try and have the lighting motion towards where you're supposed to go next. And that's very apparent in the very famous black hallways of Horror Nights, um, where there is zilch to look at because it is literally a black hallway, no wider than like the wheelchair accessible uh, allowance.
Right.
And it's black hallways, black duvetine curtains, or like vinyl dividers, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to make it like a neutral color. So usually it's going to be blue.
Mm-hmm.
But what we cleverly do is use a little lighter of a blue, and we point it towards the doorway that you're supposed to go to. So even if you're in a nondescript black hallway and like there's like an angle or like an S bend in the hallway, whatever, we will try and point you in the right direction using light. And usually it's just a slightly lighter blue, if any color at all, just some lighter tone, so you know where you're going.
That's very considerate because I personally get so turned around in those hallways. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. Why am I in front?
Yeah. But then for a scare zone, you're really just like, you're adding to the mayhem that is the scare zone. So like, for example, the lower lot, where I think that's where the chainsaw brigade was during like early operation, where they turned the ice cream shop into the one from Stranger Things, and they had like a pop-up burger shack.
Yep.
That whole area, and I think was there a stage? There was a stage. Yeah, there was a stage down there as well.
Yes.
If there wasn't a stage, we would just do like general look, kind of like, blue or red or whatever, like set a color, like set and forget kind of deal.
Okay.
You set a color, maybe have like the Universal Horror Nights logo, and you have it as a gobo. For those who don't know, a gobo is a template that you can put into a lighting fixture, and it'll actually like project the image through the light. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like the different fun shapes that you see, kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, during Christmas, if there's like a snowflake dancing around the floor, that's a gobo. Yeah, sometimes you'll have the logo like dancing around on the floor or whatever, or like a skull or crossbones or whatever, sometimes it's a spiral and you can actually spin the gobo while it's moving around. So it causes even more mayhem, and you just have it going nuts and like creating you're adding to the environment that the scare actors bring, because otherwise it's just like a dance party, rave, kind of deal. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the difference, One's
so
more...
Scare Zone is just all kinds of chaos. Whether, and then the maze, it's more of a guiding accent.
Yeah, like linear storytelling kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But Scare Zone is just like, we are going to light you so you can make sure you see where you're going. That's another important thing. Make sure you can see where you're going. But also add to the environment.
What did you think of the fire tower in my zone?
Or lack thereof last year?
Lack thereof last year, when I had it.
The famous fire arch that they had to get rid of?
Yeah, why did they have to get rid of that? Do you know why?
I don't know if they had to get rid of it necessarily. But it was definitely really, like, it was cool when it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe like you got to like play along with the controller, right?
Yes, I did. I pressed the button. I played with fire.
Yeah, like it's like sometimes there'll be an operator up there just like pressing buttons and sending them all off going nuts,
There
whatever.
were two
Two operators?
buttons.
Two buttons.
Yes, two buttons, and yeah, two operators too.
So
But
like
I
an
was.
even and odd kind of deal.
It was one button was at random, just like sprout one, sprout another. It's at random, and then the other one was the big fire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them at once. And he warned me too. So for those who don't know the story, I'll tell the story again. So when I was the wolf in 2018, Halloween Horror Nights, Scare Zone 1, I made friends with one of the fire tower operator guys. His name's Hutch. The reason I became friends with him is because he found me backstage and said, "You're that wolf girl." And I go, "Yes, I am." And he's like, "You're my favorite scare actor." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "'Cause you stay in character even when you're going backstage. You don't drop character until you know for sure you're backstage." And I love it. 'Cause he would pass by me. We would like go into this off area so people could still see you, but no one's gonna really look that way. It was just a weird off way that you go, but I would stay in character because I'm in view of guests, right? 'Cause I'm a professional. It's what I do. So I would sometimes pass by Hutch while I'm going back for my break and he's coming out to go up to the fire tower area. And I would like crouch and be like, "Distrust. I don't like you. Sniff, sniff. Oh, your friend. Okay." Just like go off like that and interact with him in character, not speaking. So he found me. And he was like, "You're my favorite character. You stay in character. Would you like to play with the fire?" And I go, "Yeah. After my next set, I could meet you up there." And so he took me, on my next set, he took me up. And it was a super sketchy area. I'm like, I'm probably going to die up here.
Yeah.
Woo! It was so...
Welcome to Haunt, baby.
Oh, God. It was just so decrepit and it looked weird. Oh, it was just like the facade looks great. And then behind it, it's just like... someone died in here probably, like,
Yeah.
no, just rumors, speculation, nothing happened, I'm sure. But I went through and it was like this cramped area going through, and then there was this other older guy who was like, "Fire, fire, fire," and Hutch taps him out and he's like, "Oh, thank God," and he like leaves, and Hutch is like, "Would you like to sit down?" Like, "Where that guy was?" "Sure." So I sit down and he hands me the remote and immediately I felt the power and I was like, "I don't know if I should be trusted with this, Hutch. Like, what, are you sure?" And he's like, "Okay, this button does like random fire bursts. This button does the big flame and you could keep holding it, but just keep in mind, don't use up all our gas. And we got the propane down there. Or like, please don't waste our gas." And I was like, "Okay, sounds good." So I started doing like little here and there, little random bursts, and it was a lot of fun. I did a big fire at one point, scared some people that are like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Oh, I could scare on my breaks. This is great." And then I caught eye of another wolf girl, one of the half transformed girls down there, Aubrey, and she caught my eye and she was just like, "You up there?" And I'm like, "Hi." And she's like, okay. So she goes under the tower and she looks at me and I give her a nod and she goes to howl at the sky as I press the big flame, and we just like dominoed some people. It was great.
Yeah.
So sometimes we could like coordinate. If we see them in the window, we would give a nod. Yeah. Okay. Like, coordinate with the fire.
That's the magic of like scare zones too, because like, and if your technician is like on it and they like actually care about what they do, like
there were times I did a big howl and they did not do the big flame and it was really awkward.
Yeah. That's one of the moments where like they're like flicking through whatever and just like beep, 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 whatever.
Arthritis in the thumb, real good. Yeah.
But like when you get those moments, you're like, aha, that's where it comes alive right there.
Oh, absolutely. Hutch was great. Like, I can't really speak for the other guy because I don't even know his name. Like, I don't know if I worked with him, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm so honored that Hutch asked me to be able to do that because we didn't even have the fire tower last year. So plus I wasn't working last year, so it was just like I got the zone with the fire tower. The operator likes me enough to let me play with the flame. I love fire. It all worked out. Nothing to be concerned about. I just like flames.
I don't know why we didn't have the fire tower, because I mean that was super cool, but like I was like sketched out a few times where the big fire went off, and like they're pretty darn close to those palm trees.
That might be it. It might be a safety issue. I suspect it had more to do with money because they were going through quite a few propane tanks. So
Yeah, that I can see.
that maybe. But also I don't know. Like it would have worked with the zone very well. I forgot what the theme was, but it was like
it was.
it was like Asian folklore kind of creatures.
Was it Asian folklore? I want to say it was like...
There was like Momo, Ringu. I don't know what it was called though, because like I did definitely see a theme.
Yeah, it was like...
It was like some myths and stuff,
Yeah.
but specifically Eastern Asian looking, because there was
Right.
definitely that feel, you
Yeah.
know. But I did go through. I have a vlog of me going through that year of Halloween Horror Nights that I did not scare because I want to take the year off. And I do go through that zone at some point. And I do remember there was one scare actor in a mask that was like stalking me the whole time, like right next to me, and I'm like, do I know you? And they're like, I'm like, cool, message me later. I don't know who you are. Like, why are you just walking next to me? Scare me!
Yeah.
It was so awkward, but it was fun because I got to see my friends, but they saw me more than I saw them because I did not know who was scaring me. And you remember, like, we went through together, and then all the chainsaws started messing with me and, like, broke us apart. Yeah.
It was hysterical.
You were so mean. You let them take me away. I'm just kidding. It was really funny because we went to the... Oops, there goes my girlfriend with all the chainsaw girls. Jeez, can you imagine me with a chainsaw? I really want to do chainsaw. Next year. If there's a next year. But yeah, we went to the lower lot area and there were a bunch of chainsaw people, brigade. And one ducked down, went in between me and Glenn, separating us, and then chased me into the street where all the other chainsaws started chasing after me.
Swarmed her.
And I was like, Glenn, help! And he's like,
What am I gonna do?
I'm like, oh, why? Oh, it was so fun. And the scariest thing is, like, I really didn't know who did it. Because I don't know if it was someone I worked with and then they just didn't message me later to let me know it was them, or someone new to me, at least, someone new who was told, scare this person, and then they just went full force. And I'm like, I don't know you! Ah! Oh, man. Do you, you're personal friends with a lot of Scareactors, yeah? Through this?
There's a few.
Few bit? Have you
Yeah.
ever gone through and had them scare you specifically, target you?
There was one year, like back... Oh man, when was it? Back when Terratram was still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I want to say it was the second year that Terratram was Walking Dead.
Ah.
So this is before the Walking Dead attraction was a thing. My buddy Drew,
Yeah.
he was a zombie in the War of the Worlds set during Terratram, and I was going through as a guest with my buddy Zach, and we were going through the whole time because he didn't tell us like where he was located on Terratram.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just going through like being those jerks who are just like Drew, and then we finally found him, or he found us. Like we were walking past the decrepit airplane, and he just kind of like scoots in between us. He's like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" And we're like, "Oh hey bud," and like we didn't stop to talk to him. Like we didn't like bring attention to it.
Good.
Like we just kept walking. Like we walked slower so he could like hang out and walk and talk with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed there's like a group of girls behind us. So like after like we were done chatting and we were gonna part ways, I'm like, all right, bud, there's a group of girls behind us. Just stop dead and turn around. And he's like, thanks, man. And then we're like, see ya. And then we take off and he stops dead, turns around. All we hear is them screaming. And we're like,
yes. I love
Yeah.
that. Especially because he probably didn't know in those masks, you don't really know.
Yeah, he was a prosthetic, so I mean.
Oh, that's easier then. Yeah.
Depending on how visually impairing it was, I couldn't tell, but like he could see better than.
Was it one of those that went across like that?
No, I want to say it was like more like just rot around the side of the face.
Oh,
if
he
I
would be able
right.
to see okay enough then. I wish I wore prosthetics. I think I doomed myself because my first year at Horror Nights, you know, you always say like, yeah, I'm down for anything and I'm available all the time. Please hire me. So they put me in a latex mask my first year doing it. And I was fine with it. Like, I didn't really complain that much. In fact, I made a joke saying like, well, back to the daily grind. Put on my grindstone head. Go back and get my face ground. I know! Ricky remembers it, though. I interviewed him like a couple weeks ago. My friend Ricky and I met on that set. And when I was interviewing him, I'm like, do you remember that I would do that like every day? I would just grab my mask, go, well, back to the daily grind, put my mask on, go to the grindstone, do a pelvic thrust, and then sit at the grindstone and wait until it was time to start. I was that girl. I was known to be that girl. So I didn't really complain about my mask. Obviously, at the beginning of it, you have to like cut the eye holes. I had big eyes. I don't know if you could tell, but I had big eyes, so they had to like cut the slits a little wider. But other than that, it was just a matter of the mask having to stretch out to my face. Mm-hmm. But I still couldn't see. I still couldn't see anything. It didn't matter because I was sat at a grindstone the whole time. So lucky me. But because I didn't complain much that year, I think I doomed myself to always be put in a mask because no one likes to be wearing masks.
I don't blame them. Because, I mean, God. Those
and
things
then I got the wolf head. And I think I mentioned this to you, Glenn, but in case people don't know, that wolf head, it was not fit to a head. It was not fit to any human-sized head. It was all empty space in that head, and then they would pack it with foam just to try and like fit it better. Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't like flop around, you know, like one of those horse heads.
Right. I mean, it was stiff. It was still like a stiff mask, so even without the foam, it wouldn't move around like that. But in order to make it not spin a 360 on my head or anything, they packed it with foam to try and fit it to my head a little better. But there was still some of that movement. So like I would turn my head and it would like keep going just like a centimeter more. Because of that, it would rub up right here on my nose. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of known for having a bloody nose by the end of my shift every time. Every time. It was just absolutely raw. And then I had tape there, but it could only do so much. So I ended up like bleeding every time. And there was not much we could do. They tried to pack the forehead more, but then it was so tight it ended up giving me a headache. And of course I mentioned this already. I couldn't see out of it. I couldn't breathe in it. In order to turn my head, I had to turn my whole torso. So it was a gorgeous mask. I am absolutely honored to wear it. I did not have to do much to scare people. I just kind of looked in their direction and the mask did it for me. But from an actor wearing the mask perspective, it was not fun. So yeah, I kind of wish I could just have 1 year where I had prosthetics or just makeup so I could just be scary by me. The Exorcist wolf with a spinning head. Oh man. Oh man. What a terrifying thought that is. I'm for it. Let's do it.
That's what we call an off night.
It's just a slightly, or like it's facing the other direction. I'm like walking backwards. Spider crawl at them. Wolf head.
Static.
It's like, have you seen that, this is gonna sound really vague because I don't remember the name of it, but there was this webcomic back in 2010-ish time, 2009, 2010-ish. There was this webcomic about a girl who was walking home alone at night, and then she sees a disjointedly walking person who looked like they were hurt, saying, "Where's my baby?" And like it gets in your face. So the webcomic is actually a video. Like you scroll through as if it's a comic, but then when it gets to a certain point, it plays this video, and that ghost moves in your direction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So
Yeah.
I remember that one point where she like points and the ghost lady goes off in that direction, trying to look for her baby, and the girl turns around to try and like go the other way, and you hear, she's not there, and then you go to the next panel, and it's like like crab walking super fast with its head turned around in your face. It just like within a second. And it got me the first time I saw. I had no reaction. My friend James showed it to me, and he definitely wanted me to have a reaction. But this is even before I started scare acting. I was too young for that. I was in high school. But he was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna get her good. I'm gonna get her good." And then that happened. I went, "Whoa, that was scary." That was like my only reaction. Like, huh, cool. But it just like that reminds me. Imagine that motion, but with a wolf head going the wrong way and like full on wolf, like that would be so cool. Don't know how we would do it. The claws alone, I couldn't even wear them. Forced myself to, but whatever. Enough about me and the wolf, because that's all I ever talk about apparently. Miss Bloodshed, my son says you're the only scare actor he would trust. Aww, thank you. Don't don't lure him in with a false sense of security and have me scare him or something. No. I try my best not to scare kids, especially like I'll try and read the moment, you know. I don't want to traumatize them, but also like if the kid's really into it and I can tell they're not traumatized, then absolutely I'll scare the kid. I still remember this one time this little girl was in the stroller and I didn't mean to scare her, but I did by accident. I didn't know she was there. I tried to scare her parent pushing the stroller. God, she must have been like 2 or 3 years old at that point. And all I hear is, ah, from in the stroller. And I look down with my wolf head. She's like, hi. And then they go through and like an hour or so later goes by. And I see a stroller. I can't see in my mask. I can't remember people that go by. I scare so many people. It's not my job to remember who comes through, right? So I'm just walking, and then I turn, and then I hear, ah! And I look down at a stroller, and she goes, hi again. I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. But she seemed like she was having fun. So I try not to scare kids. I try and scare the parents instead. But, you know, we are taught kids are fair game, and I feel that's a cheap shot. Because kids are easily scared. Most kids are easily scared. I've had a few that were just like staring at me the whole time, and I'm like, am I not scary? But you know, it's understood kids are easily scared in those environments. So I like to give myself a little bit of a challenge and go avoid the kid, scare the parents, because it's their fault the kid is there. Doesn't work. I still scare the kids and I feel bad. But there was this one time I scared the parents off so good. Like they ditched their kid for a pit. I was like, parents of the year. Parents of the year. So I told this Scareactor story, I think, before on my TikTok, but I don't think I mentioned this part exactly. But I saw this kid and she was so into the wolf girls. Like she wanted to be one. So I went up, I interacted with her. I could tell that her parents, I think it was her mom and her aunt or something from context of hearing. So her mom and her aunt were shorter than me, significantly. So I crouched down next to the kid. I'm interacting with her. Hi. And then in my own mimey way, I'm like, you want to come with me? And she goes, yeah. Looks up at the parents. Yeah. And the parents are like, oh, how cute. She's playing with the wolf. I look up at the parents. I jump, shoot straight up, and tower over them and essentially like push them back. I don't physically push them, but that scared them back a bit. And they ran off a little. And I just go to the kid, like motion to the kid to follow me, and we like sprint away. And then I have her follow me around for a bit. And the parents were like, I saw that the parents were like around. But they were kind of freaking out. And then eventually I brought the kid back and they were like, great, we have a dinner appointment. Thanks for that. I was like, okay, sorry, bye. Ha 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 ha. But yes, would you want to work Halloween Horror Nights again? Are there any other haunts that you would not rather work at? That makes it sound like you had a horrible time, but Have you worked for other haunts lighting those mazes before, or has it only been Halloween Horror Nights? And if it's only been Halloween Horror Nights, have there been other haunts that you kind of had your eye on that you might want to get creative with?
I've only ever worked at Universal, because that's the main client of Radiance.
Mm.
Um, but like I wouldn't mind working for Knott's. The trick is Knott's is all in-house technicians.
Oh.
So they're all Knott's employees. With Universal, um, me working for Radiance, I'm a third-party company. So like, yes, I work for Universal, but indirectly.
Gotcha.
So there's that it's kind of nice that way. Um, and it pays nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely go back to Universal. I would love to do that again. It's so much fun.
Maybe next year.
Fingers crossed.
Well, I was kind of looking forward to this year if the mess wasn't a thing. We were talking about how cool would it be if you got to light the maze I work in. Like go through. That would be
really fun.
That would be a lot of fun. Of course, I
Yeah.
would try and scare you. I would have
Yeah,
that be on my
of course you
bucket
would.
list. Like, did I scare my
Yeah.
boyfriend? Someone scare my boyfriend. If not me, then who?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like what other fun haunts there could be. To like what
I mean,
what
there's
Queen Mary. That's on
Yeah.
the ship, right?
It's
How would you light that?
well, the deal with Queen Mary is they actually have like a fairgrounds kind of thing set up in front of the ship. Um, I believe they just do tours of the ship. Like I don't know if they actually have actors on it. I want to say they do.
Yes.
But for the most part, it's just a tour of the ship. And then they have a couple other mazes set up out front.
Oh,
The
okay.
the creative director of that, I believe, came from Knott's. So like he left Knott's and went on to do that, and he was doing Queen Mary as well as something on the East Coast. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't mind doing Queen Mary. The haunted hayride also sounds fun. Um,
Yeah, I don't know much about that. I know I have some friends that I will interview in November too, who are doing haunted hayride, and I
Yeah.
want to know. I've never been there, so I don't know exactly what it entails as is, let alone with the mess.
yeah,
So that'll be interesting to talk about. Like, how would you? Because it's outside, right?
it's outside. Yeah. It it's tricky because you got to get real creative with how you set up your effects.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's you don't have a master uh, uh, like electricity source. You'd have a junction box laid out every 20 feet or so, like whatever. Out there, you got to like get real creative with how you set up your power and also how you're able to mask it, um, so it's hidden away. Um, yeah, I don't know how that would work really. Um,
That is an interesting point because I never think about these things because like obviously I'm focused on the scares themselves and my safety and all that stuff, safety of people around me. I never really think of like power source and making sure it blends in well, and I'm sure that's a whole other monster. Like that's a challenge in
Well,
of itself.
it's fun because like when we do our power runs for lighting, specifically at Universal, um, it all goes on top of the wall. Like it's only a 2x4 wall, you know, and all the lighting fixtures are attached to those walls, but then all the cabling is all attached to the top of the wall as well, and all the cables run back to the booth, which is where all the control is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun to see it all uncovered and whatnot, but then the days come when they put up what's called the caps of the rooms, which is it's usually some form of material that they put up on top of the maze, on like they usually staple it to the wall going around the rooms, and it gives it a ceiling, but it's a false ceiling.
Mhm.
And our job gets real tricky, especially when we need to troubleshoot something, because then all of our access to the lighting gets taken away, and we have to cut holes in the fabric to actually have the light shine through again.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so it's one of those deals where like it better work before the caps go up. Otherwise, troubleshooting it is going to be a pain from this point on.
So you're really working with a strict deadline there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, man. So we got someone saying, it seems like there's a lot of storytelling with Queen Mary, like the history of the ship's questionable past. Yes, I think.
Questionable past. Also, the place is just haunted. Like, it is a naturally haunted ship.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know anything about Queen Mary. I really want to look it up.
Yeah, absolutely. The ship is totally haunted.
I've had a lot of people ask if I should scare for Queen Mary, and I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Like,
yeah. The ship is totally haunted. I wouldn't want to scare or work on that ship just because of being on the ship and knowing that it's haunted.
I scared on a ship before,
good.
but I don't know if it's haunted. That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back and be all like, was there weird stuff that happened on the ship that I scared? I don't think so. At least not to me. I want to look up some of those. Like, there's got to have been sightings or something, myth related.
Oh, yeah.
Online that I could look up. That's so interesting. So we're going to go ghost hunting for realsies, right, Glenn?
Nope.
Level 10! So for those who don't know what I'm referring to the game Phasmophobia, which Glenn and I stream together Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So when it gets to a level 10, that means the ghost can manifest and go on a hunt and you can die. So when that happens, like all the lights flicker, your flashlight flickers, things get flown across the room maybe if you're dealing with a certain kind of ghost. It's scary. So I like to joke about ghost hunting because that's what we've been doing a lot in game. I still want to play that in VR. Oh, that's gonna be so scary. Oh, you saw me playing certain horror games in VR and I was scared. Like, imagine Phasmophobia. Like we were saying before, I'm gonna be that Kermit meme of like, oh no.
Oh yeah, totally.
Maybe you get flown across the room too. That'd be fun until I hit a wall. Go wee! Ow! Jeez, why? I would like to do a little more research on Queen Mary. I do not want to scare on the ship itself if it is haunted because I do kind of believe in ghosts and I don't want to piss anyone off. I'm all for scaring people, but I am also a big baby. I'm a big wimp when it comes to being scared. So I found out recently that I'm a swear scare and I don't mean to.
Oh, you are, yeah.
I am. As soon as it happens, if you hear me go, I can't swear on YouTube, but like the big F-bomb, it's like, Noelle died in game. They have other zones and mazes there, which is cool. Like, I wouldn't mind going through the haunt. I'd like to go through the haunt and then I can judge if I want to scare there, like the following year or something. I'm pretty comfortable at Halloween Horror Nights right now. If I don't get cast for Halloween Horror Nights, I might do Knott's Scary Farm because that would be cool because they're allowed to speak and you get to create your own costume from what I hear.
At least the roamers, like the scare zone scare actors get to do that. The ones in the maze, obviously they have to stick to their maze.
Well, yeah. I'd have to convince them because I haven't worked for Knott's before. And usually when you work a new haunt, even though you say in your interview, like, I've been scaring for years, this is where I worked, this is my experience, they don't know you personally at their haunt, and they put a lot of time, effort, money into their props, their mazes, their tech, everything, costume, makeup, all that. So they want a chance to get to know you better, so they'll probably put you in a place that is minimal liability, meaning not roaming. So I'm hoping that if I do end up working for Not Scary Farm next year, if this mess is taken care of and it's safe enough to do so, then I'm going to make sure that they know I want to work a zone. I'm good at zones. In fact, put those slider pads on me. Let's go. Oh, geez, that would be awesome. But it's been a while since I was able to scream at people and say things. I think I default to big clicks and trying to get the scoop. I don't think I've ever told you that. But if I'm a wanderer and I'm allowed to speak and I'm a specifically crazy clown character, because that one I have the most freedom to do this. If I see a big clique of like girls or like a mix of like teenage girls and boys and they're just like gossiping in a corner or something, I'll usually come in, get underneath them, go in the middle and be like, what are we talking about? What did Johnny do? Tell me. And then either they'd freak out and disperse, or they'd fill me in on the gossip and I'm like, okay. And it would just be weird. If I can't scare them, I like to make them laugh. Let's see. I just remembered the name of the one in Atlanta, Netherworld. I'm not familiar with haunts outside of LA. Let's be honest. I'm not familiar with haunts other than like Halloween Horror Nights and like a few in LA. There's not even... I know Great America does a haunt. I don't know what it's called. I don't know one's even up in NorCal.
Yeah.
Because I didn't start scaring until right before I moved to LA. And then once I got cast in Halloween Horror Nights, I just kind of stayed.
I mean, Fright Fest was kind of fun.
Yeah?
I didn't work them. I went through as a guest. That one's kind of like a good like entry level haunt. That's at Six Flags.
Yeah. I know a lot of Scareactor friends who would go through Fright Fest and not work it, but...
A good friend of mine was one of the lead makeup artists. For Fright Fest for a number of years. Yeah.
Is it Miranda?
Yeah.
Ah, I know. Yay, I know people. Eliza, I'd love to try getting into HHN here in Florida. That would be sweet. So the thing with Florida, the one in Orlando, there's a lot more space to fill, so they tend to hire a lot more people to fill it, and they don't have a lot of characters to work with, so you are allowed to kind of come up and with your own backstory and stuff. According to people I've interviewed already who have worked for Universal Orlando for Halloween Horror Nights, they said that a lot of the times they'll just like give you a costume and a zone and say, this is the context of your character, have fun.
Yeah.
Rather than, this is a face character from a movie, you have to get the movement right and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, only problem I think they could have is I'm tiny. No! That's not a problem. That's a great thing.
Oh, that's a really good thing.
It is so hard to find tiny people, and they always need... So, scaring
people
is...
Don't look down.
People don't look down. Take that advantage. Like, crawl to them. Just be... Scare and get out, because when you're crawling to someone, take it from me, experience, you'll get kicked in the face. So be careful. But yeah, so with scaring, it's very different from like regular acting. With regular acting, like Hollywood acting, you imagine, oh, I can't be taller than like 5'7", because like I have to be dainty, but also I can't be too short, and I have to be like freaking gorgeous for everything. And it's not true with scare acting. Scare acting is the opposite. The more interesting you are, the better. Like the most common request that I've seen for people looking for scare actors is people under 5'2", like 5'2" and shorter, to play like kids or just like creepy little things that crawl, you know.
They want extremes.
Huh?
They want extremes.
They want extremes. Or like people over 6'2", really big people over 6'2", to play those like bigger monster characters. So like Mike Myers, like Leatherface, all those things.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're like little, what did they call it? Like donut holes of sizing that doesn't work as well. Like you could still be cast if you really blow them out of the water, but otherwise they're going to default to a certain height. So I'm at the cusp. Like I'm 5'9", so from like 5'9" to like 6 foot ish is a little iffy, but you could absolutely still get cast. So
yeah,
scare acting, it's just about like committing to your movement and what you're doing in your character, having fun, move around. What's your stamina like? Because you're gonna be working hard. Work out just to get the stamina. But yeah, the more interesting height and interesting look you got, the more likely you will get cast just based on that, because, you know, it's unique. People are not used to that, and that's what freaks them out.
Yeah.
So you're 4'10". Yeah, absolutely. Apply. They are going to need you. Depending on the haunt, of course. But yeah, 4'10", beautiful. Do scary.
But beautiful.
Beautiful. You're gorgeous, baby.
Yeah.
You're gorgeous. You could scare. People tend not to look down or up. They just go eye level. So if you could get down or above eye level, you'll get good scares. Yeah. Oh, hi, Dr. 1010. Yeah. Feels different watching you on here as opposed to Twitch. Yeah. We're doing something a little different. By the way, Dr. 1010, this is Glen. Face to name.
Hello.
So Dr. 1010 is one of the regulars in my Twitch streams when we play
Yeah.
Phasmophobia. So nice. Thanks for being here. Now you got a face to a name. Glen's usually my partner in crime when it comes to hunting ghosts. So yeah, and he goes, nice. Yeah. So this is it was unplanned for the most part, by the way. Otherwise I would have like spread it out. I'm gonna interview my boyfriend on this night, but it was very last minute change in schedule. So originally I had another scare actor scheduled for 8 p.m. and then I was gonna do Xandra and Pete at 9:15, and then the one before them had something come up, so he had to cancel, and I was like, okay. And Glen was so nice and offered to have me interview him to fill in this time too. And also I just wanted to interview you too. I was originally planning on interviewing you on Halloween itself, but like around noon, and that would have been weird. Like, who would have known to do that? Who would have known to come and see that? So
Plus it's Halloween, so like.
plus it's
people are-
Halloween, and I need to tell you about Halloween. So I have plans for Halloween morning against my will. But it shouldn't take too long, so I'll tell you about that. I'm going to be doing a Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy photo shoot with Sky.
Oh, right.
So, Sky, I interviewed Sky, by the way, in case people want to go back and see her interview and know who I'm talking about. She's a fellow scare actor. She's awesome. Just so great. She's a fellow Wolf Girl. That's how I know her. So if you're interested in hearing the Wolf Girls chat, go to the Scare Actor interview involving Sky LaFontaine, Mackenzie Martinez. Those two are Wolf Girls with me that year. So if you want more fun wolf stories with fellow wolves. But yeah, Sky came over today, and I was working on her Poison Ivy costume. So I have to stitch a bunch of leaves to this bodysuit that she has. And while we were doing it, she got just so excited about it. She was like, girl, I don't care what you're doing on Halloween. Are you doing anything in the morning? I'm like, I have something at night, and I have my boyfriend staying over. So yeah, I'm kind of busy, and I have a lot of stuff going on. She's like, doesn't matter. He could sleep in the morning. Dawn. Crack at dawn. We are going to go into this forest, and we are going to take a photo shoot, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and it'll be great. We'll be lesbians. It's amazing. And I'm like, great. And she's like, you have no choice in the matter. You're coming. And I was like, I need to wash my costume. And she's like, you gotta have it all prepared because I'm kidnapping you that morning. Halloween, we're doing a photo shoot. I was like, but my skin's not good and my costume's not done. And yeah, so just warn you. Obviously, we'll talk about this later too. But yeah, so Dr. 1010, it's nice to see you, Glen.
And
They
you.
say. Yeah.
Well, indirectly.
Indirectly.
Hello.
Hi. Eliza, you'll be perfect, I'm sure. Oh, thank you. No, also because I accidentally stained some of my suit with when I did the zombie Harley Quinn. And I wanted to remake the collar before the photo shoot, but I don't have time, and most of my stuff's in storage. So I'm dealing with an okay prototype suit for a really nice photo shoot. I'm excited for it, but I'm also very nervous about it. So we'll see. We'll see how the photos turn out. Sky's gonna be the star. I want to show off her costume more than mine. But it'll be Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, and it'll be great. Stained outfits work well for Halloween, LOL. True, if it works with the makeup, I guess. Baking soda and peroxide.
Yep. Stain lifter.
Oh, I have baking soda. I don't know if I have peroxide. I'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
I got it. You can take it home tomorrow.
Thank you. Or I could
Done.
just bring it over tomorrow and we can try and get the stain out. It's just the collar.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you have baking soda?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I'll bring the baking soda. You have the peroxide. Together, will clean the collar I already hate anyway. So it's weird because it has the Velcro on the side, so it's like kind of poofy, but it's also not got enough fabric there, so my skin shows. So I added fabric to that, Velcro to that to try and close up that gap. But now it's like extra stretched on one side. So it's just a whole lot of mess that I can absolutely fix if I just stitch together a new collar. But I don't have the time or the fabric, so
Right.
whatever. Let's see. I might be going to a haunted house Saturday. Ooh, have fun. Stay safe.
Fun.
Wear a mask. Not like a scare mask. Wear like mess mask. I was gonna
Or
say.
wear a scare mask, just wear one underneath.
Yeah, if I was gonna scare, I would absolutely wear like a fabric mask and then like mask over it.
Yeah.
Together you'll be stain lifters. That's what Glenn and I are. We are stain lifters. No, we're not. Can't wait to get the ish scared out of me. Yeah, have fun. Just allow yourself to be scared is my biggest advice going through haunts. I hate people who act like they're not scared. Like, who's that for? We want you to be scared. You came to be scared. Why are you acting like you're not scared? Who's this for? Really? I don't get that. Oh. You want to tell this story of when we went through the Walking Dead attraction on one of our first dates? And I screamed and ran up against the wall and like slid against the wall. Do you remember that?
Faintly.
Okay, well, I'll tell the story and remind you then, because it plays on repeat in my head.
Right.
So, date story of how Noelle freaked out in a really big way, and she was worried that he might think she was just being over the top, but no, I am just naturally over the top. A Scareactor getting scared. Gasp. Yes, people don't usually think this way. I scare because I like to be in control of the scary thing. I like to be scared, but I am easily scared because I don't know what's happening, and I have a very big reaction.
Because we care.
We scare because we care. Yes. So, there was, not anymore, but there was a Walking Dead attraction in Universal Studios Hollywood all year round.
It's gone. I forgot about that.
It's gone now. It's really sad that it's
Yeah,
gone. I loved it. So, the few times I went through that attraction, I went through alone. And it was fine. Because when I'm alone, I'm harder to scare for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I think I'm just like naturally on guard. But when I'm with someone, my guard is let down a little bit more. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but I would go through and I'm just like trying to admire it. It's like, oh, fellow Scareactors, hi. And then some of the Scareactors I'm familiar with would double as day ops zombies in that attraction, so I'd like to go through and see them too. But yeah, I think my mom came with me once and she did not go through it. She was like, if you're going through, you're going through alone. And I was like, okay. I had a friend that wanted to go through it, but then she got too scared last minute, dipped out of line as I was going through, and I was like, but why? And yeah, so the first time, and I guess only time at this point, first time I went through with someone was with Glenn on one of our earlier dates. I don't know if we were officially dating at that point. I don't think we were. It was our third date, right? Was Universal.
Maybe. I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was one of our earlier dates and we weren't officially a couple yet. So I'm still trying to get this guy to like me. And we knew that we both worked like Halloween Horror Nights and we did scary stuff. So I thought it'd be fun to go through something scary with someone for the first time ever. So I was like, are you okay going through this with me and getting scared? And he was like, sure, let's go. And he was just like, go with the flow, whatever. And I loved that about him. I still love that about you. And so we go through, and there was this one point, you go, and I'm getting, scared, like, nothing too big. But we get to this big room, and there's a staircase that goes up, and then there's this character with a gun, and it's like, he's shooting at the zombies, and he's like, go, run, I'll hold them off. And I had gone through that attraction a couple times, so I knew, like, a zombie's gonna come through that door on the left and scare me. What I didn't know was that there was a door to the right, and a zombie could also pop out of that. I had never seen that. So I was like, eyes glued to that one door waiting for that one zombie to come out. And then lo and behold, across from it on the other side, this zombie pops out. I freak out going, I wasn't expecting you! And I run and like I hit the wall and I turn around and then the other zombie pops out and tries to grab for me. And I go, I was expecting you! And I had my back against the wall and I slid down. I was like, oh my god! And that was a genuine reaction. I am so embarrassed by that, but it's also like just really funny.
Real good.
I got real good. It was really funny. So that was the time a Scareactor got scared. Like, really big, though. And you could see me get scared more in my vlog. And that's why you got scared, LMAO. You focused too much on one spot. It's true. They got me. They got me because I was too focused on one spot. You gotta keep looking around, you know? But if you want to see me get genuinely scared, like see my reactions as I'm getting scared, you need to watch my vlog that I made last year when I went through alone. I made a vlog of like Scareactor goes through Halloween Horror Nights. And it was on Friday the 13th. It was one of the earlier days of the haunt itself, but I was like wearing a red wig and red dress and people were targeting me because I put a hit on myself. I took a picture of myself, put that photo on Facebook for all my Scareactor friends to see and said, hey, I'm coming through tonight. Scare me. This is what I'm wearing. And they did. I went through so many mazes and I was recording my reactions and I kept the footage that wasn't too dark. So you could kind of see what's going on. I also added subtitles so that you could hear what I'm saying because everything was so loud. But yeah, no, I got dropped. I dropped at some point in Killer Clowns because that was the first time I went through Killer Clowns. And I'm glad that we saw the movie afterwards, because when I first went through, I thought it was kind of hokey, and I was like, what is this? This is weird.
The movie's hokey.
And then we saw the movie, and I was like, actually, Universal did a spot-on job. It wasn't the maze. It was the movie. It was like exactly like the movie. That's my favorite maze. To this day, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is still my favorite maze. It's a good movie, too. I like the movie. It's so bad but good. It's weird. Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else you would like to say? Do you have any other fun stories of like seeing someone get scared as you're going through, or any other stories from like behind the scenes stuff that you'd like to share?
There's a story about the toxic tunnel.
Okay.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, at Horror Nights, in recent years at least, in order for you to get down to the Metro lot, which has like 3 or 4 mazes, you have to walk backstage, or at least not backstage, along the lower lot of Universal into like the actual movie studio, and you walk into the Metropolitan set, where typically the studio tour drives through, but to get through it, there's a tunnel that goes underneath like a parking structure, and they call it Toxic Tunnel, or at least it changes every year or so.
The most recent years, it's been Toxic Tunnel, so all the characters have like melted faces and radioactive suits and all that.
I believe it was supposed to be a different theme this year because of the costumes, but they ran into a snag somewhere and they actually had to reuse Toxic Tunnel.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that one's actually kind of interesting. It's a interesting setup because it is just a tunnel, and it's used for like car and cart access, for getting around the lower lot. And the scare actors, they come down to this really steep hill from on top of the structure, and that's their headquarters up there. That's where they store all their costumes and
scare
stuff.
Base. Woo.
Yeah, that's their scare base at least.
Yeah.
And when I was running Killer Clowns, part of my routine was to open Killer Clowns at like 6 or whatever it was, and then shortly after, go start up the Toxic Tunnel. And Toxic Tunnel, the way it works is it's two different directions of traffic, right? So it flows opposite to like street flow. So you're walking forward on the left, and it won't be running. Like you can still get to Metro Lot earlier on in the event without Toxic Tunnel running. So my job was to show up and make sure the lighting stuff works, and be there when they kick it off, so we can make sure everything's working properly and all that. Um, this specific day, I show up, check my lighting and stuff, and prep everything ready for the audio guy to come and press the master play button. Um, but the thing is, it's so coordinated, because when we press the master play button, the actors come down from Scare Base down the big steep hill. They do like a quick huddle up, get amped up, and then they just bolt into the tunnel and just go ham. It's hysterical to watch. And it's like hardcore, like metal rock music, so it's like it's driving, you know. And this one day, the audio guy just, he didn't show up. He just flat out didn't show up for like a good 10 minutes past go time, and I'm stood there like ready, like waiting. But I couldn't touch it because technically I can't touch any of their equipment.
Yeah, it's a liability.
But I knew how to run their equipment and how it works, but I just couldn't run it. And clearly they came by because they were all set up ready to go as well. So it was just, we needed him to show up and press the play button. I knew how to press the play button, thankfully, because one of the supervisors ran up to me and he's like, hit the button, we're ready. And like the actors are already down, they've done their huddle.
Yeah.
And they're like already amped up, and they stay in the huddle, and they're like just ready, like, come on, we're waiting for the music. And I'm stood there like, I can't do anything, my hands are tied. And so a few more minutes pass, and I see them, they're stood there, they're waiting, and the supervisor's getting really antsy. I'm like, might get some flack for this, but here we go. And I hit the play button, and off they go. They start scaring, and the supervisor comes up. He's like, what was that about? I'm like, so here's the story. I shouldn't have done what I just did, but I had to, because clearly everyone else was ready and it needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I caught the sound guy when I was going to check on the tunnel, because I would have to walk that like every hour and a half or something like that. It's very, very easy element of the event, and it required very little babysitting. But it's super fun, especially when like you hit the play button with people walking through and they are caught off guard.
Just like middle of the tunnel, and then all of a sudden this loud metal music and the lights and the strobe and the actors rushing.
Well, like how it would work is like when you're in the tunnel, the music, you just get this massive like wolf howl, and then a big heavy like drum fill to lead them in, and then heavy music, and then the lights follow suit. So if you're caught in the tunnel, that happens, and you're like, what is happening right now? And then it all goes nuts, and you're like, okay, I'm now suddenly part of something. And
oops.
Yeah, it's a good time.
I want to be there for that. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So what happened with the sound guy?
Oh, the sound guy, I ran into him when I was doing one of my walkthroughs, and he's like, look, man, I'm so sorry I missed you. Like, I got caught up with technical issues on another location, and unlike Radiance, where we have like representatives almost at every maze, if not every zone, Diablo works a little different, and they're a little shorter handed. So this guy was working on some troubleshooting up on the upper lot when he was supposed to be kicking off tunnel, and he missed it. And I'm like, look, I hope I didn't upset anybody or overstep boundaries, but the supervisor was getting real antsy, and thankfully I knew how to work QLab, and he's like, oh, no worries, like you saved our bacon. I'm like, just, yeah, show's got to go on, you know.
I'm so glad you didn't get in trouble for that, because I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah,
how stressful that was. Oh
yeah.
Jeez. But
then,
yay, you saved the day.
Yeah, you know, you get a few of those moments here and there. But
yeah.
there's the at least with the tunnel when it kicks off, right? You get the wolf howl as a warning, right? Everywhere else, like all the other mazes, typically, what happens in good fashion, the audio tech will shout from outside the booth, uh, "Sound in the maze" or whatever. "Sound in the maze." They usually shout it a few good times to try and spread the word. Um, and then when they hit the play button, it is immediate full show volume, noises, effects, screaming, lighting,
And
everything kicks
it
off at
gets
once.
loud. Like scare actors are required to wear earplugs, otherwise we
Yeah.
will go deaf.
When I'm sat in the booth for hours on end, I have ear inserts as well as muffs.
Mm.
Like I have to double up because it is just so loud. Um, and there's been a few times in recent years, at least, where, like, no fault to their own, uh, the audio tech will shout, "Sound in the maze," but either they'll shout it not loud enough, or they'll shout it from inside the booth, which in some cases is a covered booth,
Oh,
and
come on.
sound doesn't travel very well. And there's been a few times where people are up on ladders and close to speakers as well,
Oh.
and the sound will go off and just scare the living daylights out of us. And sometimes almost knock us off our ladders, which is the most terrifying
Dangerous.
thing.
Very
Yeah,
dangerous.
definitely
Wow.
dangerous. But like that is the most unsettling thing, is when you're like working up on a ladder near one of those speakers, and they're big speakers too. Don't have to be, but they are. Um, and like you just hope that you hear the call out just in case. Um, yeah, it's it's rough sometimes.
We got someone falling off a ladder is scarier than the maze.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely agree.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's
that's
terrifying.
real. That's real fear. Like when you're
Yeah,
going through a haunt, like the actors aren't gonna touch you. You're not in any real danger, but
yeah,
you're gonna go deaf and then fall off a ladder and possibly break your neck. Yeah, that's scary
yeah,
shit.
and
So
yeah, it's ugh. Yeah, that's like my only grievance working like a maze,
you gotta
specifically during.
communicate
Yeah,
better.
otherwise, like if you're in the maze, like you don't even have to be on the ladder. Like I was sat down like working on some wiring or whatever, and I either didn't hear the call out or they didn't call it, and the sound went off, and I like full body shuddered, just like
Oh,
terrified.
you poor thing. Because I remember you saying like, I wish they would just make a tone first
So
throughout the
what they
maze.
used to do was either have a tone, like just a monotone go off, and then the sound would start. And then I've also heard they would like have a tone but rising in volume,
To
and
ease
then the
the
sound would
ears
go off.
into it, yeah, that's smart.
Or I've also heard that they would have the sound go but at a lower volume and then rise up to show volume.
Yeah.
And I really wish they would put that into practice more often, because it is absolutely terrifying when it just blasts off like that.
Yeah, I remember Dave's working Terror Tram, and they would just start the sound
Terror Tram's
randomly.
a little trickier
Terror
because,
Tram
like,
is easier because you're outside and you're not
yeah,
right by the speakers, but it was still my first year scaring, and it was like,
exactly.
oh my god, we're going.
For Terror Tram, in that case, it's almost like necessary that you have some sort of lead in, because that is such a massive zone you have to cover. And if it's all running off the same system or like a couple different systems, like it's still a lot of space to cover. So like you can shout all you want, you're probably not going to reach it all with your voice. So
Right.
gotta have some other sort of warning.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah,
So
the
I'd be
worst one.
like putting on my mask, or maybe I'm already ready because I'm an overachiever and I was ready at my stage right at 7. So right at 7, the sound would start.
Yeah,
Full
we always try and do
volume
it.
right
Yeah,
away.
we always try and kick it off like right on time, like on the hour, on the dot. So like people can at least prepare themselves for that sound to come. But like, I think the loudest one was Stranger Things for me.
Yeah.
because it was in a sound studio or a sound stage, so they can get away with using more volume because there's going to be a certain amount of sound that's going to get absorbed with the building.
Right.
But you still want that loud sound, so it's going to have to naturally be louder.
Right.
And the remember the few nights I was there, we'd kick off the show, and like when the audio tech would shout like "sound in the maze," we'd hear groans from the actors and the other techs, just like, fine. And then sound would go off. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sound is. I was lucky that I had the scare zone and I was in the Scareamony, so when the sound started, that was actually my cue to like be ready for the show. And I think I told you. Did I tell you about the times that I was late to set?
No.
I was late a couple times.
Tisk.
Not my fault. I needed a team. Okay, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. It's not my fault. So, I had my eye makeup on. I had my hair in a French braid. I had my ninja hood on. I had my gloves on, mask ready to go. I was ready. But at that point in the run, I think I explained this to you, but I'll say it to everyone just in case. The wolf skin, like the fur on the fabric, just the slightest tug and goodbye fur. It was just the flimsiest thing, and it was the most expensive fabric that they were working with, they said. So I was going bald on my arms from going back to over the gloves to like hide the gloves a little better and keep them in place, you know? So I had to have the sleeves stretch over the gloves. And whenever I would do that, it would pull some of the fur out. So costumes department made a grievance about it and was like, this fabric's super expensive. To try and save whatever fur is left on her arms, we require that only a costumes person goes in and stretches that fabric and pulls it over the gloves. No one else is allowed to do this. Even if we taught you how to do it, no one else is allowed to do this, only costumes. So this day before the Scareamony, I'm running around and I'm like looking at the makeup girls and I'm like, can you do it? I can't do it myself anymore. And they were like, our hands are tied. You gotta find a costumes person. I try and find a costumes person. And the costumes person's like, I don't know what to do. I haven't been trained on this. So I'm like, okay, you stick your hands in like that. I could do it if I was doing it to someone else. I was like, you go like this and over the glove. And then they started doing the thing they weren't allowed to do, which is this. They were supposed to just gently. And so they tugged a lot of fur out. And then like someone like more head honcho of costumes comes from around a corner and goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying to get ready for the show. And then the other costumes guy is like, am I doing it wrong? They're like, yeah, hold on, I'm gonna teach him real quick, okay? I'm like, no, I gotta go. Like the sound is gonna start any second now and I still have to get my head on. And I have to go backstage through like the Shrek 4D queue line, like that whole thing, get to that end that faces that the New York street, go out into the street so people could see me, go forward a little bit and go into a little hidey hole there. Like that's where I'm supposed to start. So they're like giving a little lesson and I'm like, guys, not the time. I will come back. If you're here, you can do it then. But can you please just get me out there in time? So they finally got my gloves on. And as soon as they got the gloves on, I hear the music go. And I am not in my place. And then I put my head on and I'm like sprinting through the queue line. Keep in mind, I still can't see in my damn mask. And so I'm sprinting and I like get to the end and my supervisor stops me, like full on clotheslines me. I was like, oh, nope, sorry, we already started. I'm like, but I'm supposed to be over there. I'm not in my spot. And he was like, well, you got to figure something out. I'm like, I will walk faster. I will wait for my cue and walk faster. I don't know. So that's what happened is like, I started way too far back. I had to like get to my spot and then do the whole thing. But I was so stressed out that whole time. And there is a YouTube video. Someone caught that day on tape. And you wouldn't know it watching it, but when I watch it, there's like mild trauma from that moment because I was watching I was trying to get footage of me like scaring for TikTok. By the way, that's gonna happen on TikTok soon-ish. Hopefully, like the day before Halloween, I'm hoping to have it edited. Just like little clips of me in the wolf costume because so many people have been asking about it.
Yeah.
But I was like looking through footage of like the ceremony because I'm like, I know for sure I am in that. And one of the videos was like when the wolf girls enter. The other two enter from where they're supposed to, and then I come back from like way far back. And when I saw that, I went, "Oh no, that's the day everything went wrong. Ouch! It hurts. Oh, you're not looking it up, are you? Like, what are you...
No, I will though. But...
No, I'll send it to you. I think I saved it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I need footage of me scaring, but that was a fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would be my cue is like when the music would start. I swear we had a surge of energy when that happened because there was this ambiance. Yeah, there's this ambiance throughout the whole park. But when that blasted metal music starts, and it wasn't always because of the ceremony, it was like a different song. So it actually eased more into it of like a wolf howl or something. It started like a wolf howl.
Yeah.
And as soon as that started, everyone backstage, like we were ready in our spots. We would go like, oh, yeah, let's go. And then since I was, in the ceremony, a lot of people would like jokingly trying to push me into the like where people could see me too soon. And I'm like, okay, you guys, stop. They can't see me yet. Okay, now. And then I would go, or like what would I do? We would boop each other on the noses a lot backstage too, which is so weird. Like so many people would come up to the wolf girl and be like, boop, Noelle, is that you? And I go, mm-hmm. They're like, boop, okay. And I'm like, who are you though? You're in a mask too. I don't know who you are. Oh, boop, with my claw. I don't know who you are. And then like a stilt walker would come out from around a corner, like towering over everyone, like squirt down and go, boop, is that you, Noelle? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I still don't know who you are. Good times.
We kind of had our own pre-show like routine for clowns. It was funny actually when I sat clowns. It was Glen and Glen working the maze.
Oh my!
Glen on from Radiance lighting, and then Glen from Diablo, who's audio and video. And it's hysterical because like anybody would run to the booth and like, Glen, we need you. We both like chirp up like, huh, what? And then they look at other Glen and it's like, okay, you go do your thing.
Oh.
But we had this like routine where like when we hit the play button, the sound would go, the maze is about to open, and before we can open it up, we would go through the maze, make sure everything's working. We would hit the triggers ourselves, and other Glen would disappear into the backstage areas, and he would one by one hit all the triggers. And I learned his routine because we wouldn't go in order one to one, because we would go in order from front of the maze to the back of the maze.
Yeah.
So that sometimes required doubling back and hitting another trigger on the way through. But like we would go through and like I'd walk up to like a pop out zone, he'd pop out, it's like great, move on to the next one, pop out, great, this one, pop out, great, moving on. Similarly for Stranger Things, we would because it was all retro music from Stranger Things 2, we like the first thing to play when the maze turned on was Devo.
Okay.
I believe it was Whip It.
Maybe. I wouldn't know what it started with.
I believe it was Whip It. And we would hit the play button, sound would go. The first thing we'd do is we go check the extended queue outside, which is the queue that wraps along the side of Transformers there.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go out around the maze, still in the soundstage, out the exit, and we would check the queue lights and the audio, and all while doing like aerobics run up the street.
Jazzercise.
Yeah, all in tempo with the music that's playing. and then we'd come back, and then we'd go through the maze, do the maze walk, and same deal. Like someone would disappear. I think it was the audio girl. I forget her name. But she would go through and hit all the triggers, and I would make sure they work and whatnot. And it was a good time. We had a great little group at Stranger Things. We had a mini pumpkin decorating competition. It was fun.
I remember that picture.
Yeah, it was fun.
You little pumpkin.
Yeah.
Oh, we would always do Secret Satan.
Yeah, they had a Secret Satan, and they actually made sweatshirts just for their maze.
Cool.
No, they had jackets. They made like retro Letterman jackets for the Stranger Things maze, and I was super jealous because they were really cool. But I was only there for a couple days.
I want that. Oh, I got a T-shirt I think for 2017, but it didn't look very good. I'm sorry, it didn't. And then 2018 we didn't really get anything, so I bought my own sweatshirt, and I wear it a lot. I wear that a lot. It's one of my go-to sweatshirts, which is funny because it's a size small, I believe, and I'm usually a medium to large in sweatshirts. But it fit me fine, and it was the last one they had. So I had to actually go to the Universal store and purchase it as is. They gave me a grievance with my discount and stuff, and I'm like, I work here, I promise. Give me a discount. Yeah, but you only work here for one more day. I still work here. Give me the damn discount. What are you talking about? Put it in the system. It'll work. Yeah. So I got mine. And I'm. You say to get a denim vest. I like that idea. Originally, I was going to sew my patches. So whenever you're an alumni of Halloween Horror Nights, I don't know about other haunts, but definitely Halloween Horror Nights, you'll get a little patch saying Scareactor Alumni. And I have 2 of those because I was doing it twice, and I don't know what to do with them. Originally, I was going to stitch them to that 2018 jacket because I wear it all the time anyway, but I want to look good. So I guess I'll have to get a denim vest and do that. But it'll look so bare with just the 2 patches. It's not like Bubba, who's got 10 to 12, 10? 10? Something like that.
Jeez. Yeah,
we got some vets. We got some people who've been there from the beginning. I think he said his first year was 2006?
Wow.
But I think he said he took a year off here and there. Maybe. I don't remember. Sorry, Bubba, if you're watching this. I didn't remember what you said, but I'll go through the other interview and I'll look it up again. But great guy. So many great vets, like vet scare actors. I hope to get Scare Zone Rob on here someday. And we could talk about how we would play fetch together when I was a wolf. And he just found a random glow stick on the ground and threw it at guests. And then I would fetch it. But I would have to, my claws were so long. And I couldn't move my fingers. So when I got the glow stick, I had to, scoop it into the claw. And then balance it like this and run it back like this. Yeah, good times. Good times. So, Glenn, have you seen any other fun scares? Any reactions from guests?
I mean, you get your usual ones, like all the ones you covered from your TikToks and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing super memorable.
Yeah. Eliza, you have so many fun moments as a scare actor. LOL. Yeah, there are a lot of fun moments depending on where you work. Of course, if you're in a maze, you'll get a fun reaction every once in a while, but you're really just popping out doing the same thing over and over again. So a lot of my fun moments come from scare zones because I have more freedom to move around and meet people and scare girlfriends of guy I will eventually date.
Opening weekend of 2018 Horror Nights on Mike Myers. One of the Mike Myers ripped a door off the wall doing his trigger scare.
Oh no!
Yeah.
What happened?
No, he just it wasn't very well engineered and.
Oop!
you know, that scare and being Mike Myers, you know, they're big hulking guys in jumpsuits, you know, so they're gonna throw open this door, and doing it repeatedly, you know, he just tore the door off.
What gusto. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're just like,
so
what? Oh, hello.
yeah,
Have
so
that be the
we-
scare. Have it permanently off its hinges and just go,
Yeah.
haha, I'm so strong.
yeah, so we had to improvise a little bit, and the scare, the trigger was vacant for a while
Oh no.
until they could actually remove all the screws that were sticking out from all the hardware.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
dangerous.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Oh god. I know my friend Rob was one of the Mike Myers. I don't think that happened to him. He would have told me
Was
about
it him?
that. It was not him. I highly doubt it was him because he I don't know where he was. I think they switched around. I don't know. But I don't remember what he was, but I remember training him for his audition because he had never scared before, and I was like giving him tips on what to do and everything, and then he was so excited when he got it. And then you've actually met him at the movie night. We went to a movie night at his place at one time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Rob was one of the Michael Myers,
Yeah.
and you guys chatted a little bit about working at the maze, but that's about it. Like, that's where the similarity kind of ends, because like he's just in his hiding
Yeah.
hole. You got your tech
Yeah.
gig. You know, it's like we're all working together to make this thing happen, and yet no one really knows each other.
Yeah.
It's so weird, because I'll get people saying like, "Oh yeah, you worked in this zone." Me too. And I'm like, where? Who are you? I don't remember you. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Unfortunately, if we do it as techs, like if we do our jobs right, you don't know who we are. You don't know what we look like because we're not seen.
Yeah.
It's when we're out and about and being seen is when something's up. And
Something's wrong.
Yeah, that's when you know something's going wrong, and you don't want that. You want us to be in the shadows, like not seen.
True.
And same deal with theater, you know, like you want the text to be hidden. If they're seen, then
Kind of
something's
takes you
up.
out. Takes you out of the moment, the story.
Well, that too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's also why we're in blacks. So
Exactly. That's why you have a lot of black clothes in your closet. Training. What counts as training? I would. Some people have an idea of what scare acting is, but not necessarily what is good to do in an audition setting. And I'll use this as an example. So my audition for 2018, I had already auditioned once before for Halloween Horror Nights, and I got lucky, I got in. And my second one, I had a better idea of what is to come because I've already auditioned, right? But I am not supposed to talk about what goes on in the audition itself. I was stretching, because always stretch before scare acting. I was stretching with a group of like 3 other people. One of them I scared with the year prior, and then there were like 2 or 3 others in our little stretch circle who were completely new. One of them was like, so we were like the vets in a way, and we were like, okay, well, what do you got? You show us. And he was just the most flexible, bendy little thing, and I was like, do that. That's creepy. That is great. You are gonna get a card for sure. And then this girl, such a sweetheart, she was like, oh, I can scream really, really loud. And the vet and I just kind of look at each other and we were like, good, but the guests scream. You don't. You don't scream. She was like, but I can scream and it's okay. Like, I won't kill my voice. So we were like, you're going to kill your voice. Even if you sing from the diaphragm at a really high note in the most healthy way and you keep up with the hydration and everything, you are going to kill your voice within a few hours because we're working for like 12 hours straight. So like, don't kill your voice. She goes into the audition and they were like, okay, what you got? I have to keep this as vague as possible. So sorry about that. But she does her scream. They were like, okay. She ends up not getting in. If that were my friend and I had a session with her, kind of like with my other friend, I would have been able to tell her point blank, they look for movement, not voice. You just going in and screaming at them doesn't show what you can do as a scare actor. Doesn't show any character, doesn't show gusto or commitment to a part in any way. It's just, I can scream. And it's so cliche, and it's what everyone thinks, like, oh, I can scream really loud and really good for a long time and not kill my voice. Okay. You could do it every once in a while if you are working for a place where you're allowed to speak, but at HHN specifically, you're not allowed to speak anyway. So you could scream, but it's not good. So yeah, that's like the kind of training. Also, like when I was training my friend, I always try and teach people to use what they have. He was gonna try and go into the audition and just be tall and lanky and just like menacing looking and just kind of stand there. And I told him, but you need to do something. That's creepy, but that's not scary. You have to do something, move, use what you got. That's great to start out with, but then do something else. So that was the kind of the training that we would do. It was like, what does it mean to scare? What are examples of scares? How do you use what you have in order to be scary? So it's like, it's a little more to it, but some things come naturally for people when it comes to scaring, because they just think, what would scare me? And I do that. Other people need a little better understanding of the context of the scare in order to make it work. So yeah. Any other questions for Glenn about the other side of haunts? Because he does the light and the tech, and he makes it work for us. Because nothing's more awkward than trying to do a trigger scare and have the lights not work. And that actually happened to me once, by the way. I don't think I told you this. I was working pool in, what was the maze? Insidious, I believe? I think it was Insidious.
So, behind Jurassic Park?
I don't remember where I went. Honest to God, they just, like, put me in a golf cart and was like, here you go.
Yeah, that's usually what they do.
Yeah. So, and I was coming from Terratram, so I already worked a full shift, and they were just like, here you go.
Yep.
And I had never worked Universal before, so that was another thing of, like, I have no idea where I am. I believe it was Insidious. I had to pop out of, like, this, I don't think it was a picture frame, but it was something like that, and I was, like, an old lady character. And the trigger was, I step on the trigger, and it's a strobe light effect with, like, a scream, and I would have to pop out of my window. That is a little high up, so I would, like, pop out and, like, get at people. I can see when people enter my room. I can't see who they are because it's so dark, but it's like they come in, I pop out at them, they go through another curtain. It was super awkward. A couple times this happened where I accidentally hit the trigger without meaning to, and so it would go off, and then they would just like kind of see, but I also had to push a curtain, so like they would see like someone was behind this curtain but I didn't pop out. Or what would happen a couple times, I hit the trigger and I go to pop out to time it and nothing happens, and then people are like, did something just pop out? Huh? Because they can't see me.
Yeah.
Unless that happens. It was the awkward thing. I was like just the weirdest thing. What is the hardest thing about lighting houses? I feel like that probably was already asked. I don't think specifically.
So like the mazes specifically, or like,
yeah, they said houses, so I guess mazes. Yeah.
The hardest thing is probably getting the looks you need while like it's still only just like it's a wooden shell of a room, you know. Like I'm going back to the Mike Myers maze, the diner scene. Like that was a massive room, and we had to light it like any other environment. But there was very little ceiling, if any, to be able to actually hang lights off of it. So like I think there's like one or two beams that spanned across the top of the room where the fabric ceiling was. so we were able to hang lights off of that, but it still didn't give us enough per se. Um, but like running power, figuring out power and control, that's always tricky too, because you really gotta understand what you're plugging into where, how much power you're using. That's another thing, power consumption. Um, and the runs you have to make with the cable, because your lighting control and power distribution all comes from one corner of a maze or one location in a maze, and it all has to go up and out of that room and then run along ceilings or the outsides of the maze to its distribution location. Um, and like when I'm talking like cabling, like I'm not talking like your household extension cable. I'm talking like anywhere from a half inch to like 2 inch in diameter cable that's heavy. And we're also talking bundles of these cables. Like sometimes like bundles, it would end up being like this fat, all zip tied to the top of a wall. Um, and you gotta mask it. You gotta make sure it's out of view. And sometimes you can be clever with it, but sometimes you just kind of gotta bite the bullet, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as more elements get added, specifically scenic elements, you got to work around those. Like again, going back to the Mike Myers one, there's a room full of chain link. There's the power station, and the chain link really just screwed us, because
Really?
there's some locations where we had to put lights up, and like these chain link cages, like they made a couple cages of chain link, but they didn't make a way to access behind the cage. So like we couldn't get up close to where we needed to be to work on these fixtures, and it was really tricky. And then of course, collaboration is always tricky, especially when your creative team is being stretched so wide across all of the different locations at Universal. It's tough to get hold of the people you need to get hold of so you can get approval for things. Um, yeah, that's always tricky, collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fun. I love it. It's a good time.
I just remember like visiting you while you're working, and like you would take a break and stuff, and it's just like you always light up about lighting. It's so cool. Ever had a
Yeah.
ever had a scary moment with lighting other than the loud sounds almost murdering you?
uh,
That's a good question.
scary moment with lighting, and loud sounds almost murdering you. Um, okay, this is gonna sound silly, but like I am terrified of electricity. Um,
As you should be.
it's like ultimately the silent killer, like one of the silent killers, because you can grab like a pipe and you have no idea if there's an electric current flowing through that thing. And if you grab it with your hand like this, if there's a current flowing through it, it's going to make your muscles tense up and you can't let go of it. And now you're getting electrocuted. And that's terrifying. Same thing with cables. Like if there's a cable exposed, who knows if it's live? Who knows if there's current flowing through it? Um, so you always have to like work on edge, or like aware,
With
be super
caution. Approach
cautious.
with
Oh yeah,
yeah.
but you also gotta respect it, because like uh, it's kind of like fire. It's its own energy, um, and it's its own life, and it's gonna find a way to reach its destination, and it's gonna find the shortest path to its
Mm-hmm.
destination, which ultimately is into the ground. Um, and if you're stood there, you're its shortest route. So if it goes through you, you're toast.
Yep.
So you got to work with respect to it as well. So yeah.
Approach with caution.
But like as for like a specific time, uh, I mean you're always dancing with death. Like
God,
I,
you
I
sound so
strung
scary.
I strung lights up in a tree like 70 feet, not even like 60 feet in the air. Um, in high winds. Probably shouldn't have, but we did it.
In hindsight, probably a bad idea, but it happened.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that for the Dark Arts?
That was for original install of the castle show.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, he has a lot of scary moments. It's like a constant scare working with electricity, I guess. Good question though.
It's fun though.
Oh
It
yeah.
is fun.
Yeah. You seem to quite enjoy it. Your boyfriend is a brave electricity wielding man. Yes, yes he is. He has the power.
Well, my most recent gig involved electricity and water. That's
Yeah.
a whole different world.
Do you want to talk about that?
Not really.
Okay. That's
That's
perfectly fine.
That's a completely different venue.
Yeah, that's true. We don't need to talk about that. But yeah. We are talking specifically haunts and how lighting can affect a scare or absolutely kill the scare if the light doesn't even happen, like when I mentioned awkwardly happened to me. I do remember some of the lights on the street in my zone. That was cool. It would just like dance around. But in a maze, so I wish we had someone like you light the maze at the Haunted Hornet, because we were working with just what was on the ship when we were in the lower areas. Like, they might add a strobe. They might add, like, a light here and a light here just to make sure we're not killing ourselves. But it was nothing creative.
Yeah.
Like, there could have been way more. I think, like, one room was completely red light and that was it. Or, like,
It's a
all
choice.
blue light and that was it. And then, like, strobe. Oh, my God, the strobe room messed with my eyes so bad because, like, the strobe was right above the exit for that room. So you're, like, looking directly into the strobe, which you do not want to do. Do both of you ever wish that a scare zone or, like, a maze had better lighting than asked for? As a scare actor, absolutely, all the freaking time. I can't see shit. But also that would ruin the scare. So it really depends. As a performer, working with it, the lack of light, yeah, because I can't see a lot of the time. I can't see out of my mask anyway, but lighting would help. From a performing standpoint, like, I want it to be the best performance for a guest, then no, lighting is usually pretty good. And
Do you ever wish that a scare zone or a maze had better lighting than asked for? That's where the creative collaboration comes into play, because ultimately it's the creative director who has the final call. As an LD or master electrician, whatever, your job is to like provide and also give your creative input, but also ultimately provide what the creative director wants. And there's been a few times where like again, going back to the Halloween 4 maze, Mike Myers, the power station with all the chain link and all that room was just constant strobe.
it really messed with my
non-stop
eyes.
strobe.
My friend Jeremy was one of those guys being electrocuted, so
Yeah.
I had to go through and say hi to
I
him
felt
every once in a while, and I'm like, dude,
so
I hate
bad.
it.
So bad for those actors who had to be in constant strobe, because lighting people, we kind of get desensitized to it, but it can mess with you if you're in it for like,
Hours.
hours on end. Yeah. There was one instance in the Killer Clowns maze where an actor requested that the strobe get taken out of his trigger. And I believe he tried to bring it up when I was there, when I was sitting it. And when I sat the maze, I had no input on the creation of that maze. So it's like I don't know how these fixtures control. I don't know what they're set to, all that kind of stuff. All I could do is pass on the note to whoever needs to know it. And again, ultimately, it's down to the director's call if they want to actually scrap the strobe or not. Now, him being in his position where he was one of the clowns that had to, he was higher up and he had to like pop out through like a screen, but he had a ledge to lean on. So when he triggered, he went through the screen and the strobe light would go off. But that's the only time it would strobe. So it would only happen, excuse me, when he would hit the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of like I felt bad because strobe is tough. It's tough on some people.
Yeah.
But also like it's not as bad as other people have it, you know? Like, and he said he would come out with headaches and like his stomach would be hurting and he'd be sore, and it's like, maybe it's your scare. I don't know, because you're higher up, you're over a ledge. Maybe he's overexerting himself going out and over.
Yeah.
So
the headaches could be caused from the light. Nausea.
absolutely.
Like, yeah, they could absolutely cause it, but I've worked with strobes and I've worked in those like higher window pop out scares before, and I don't know, for me it's always the first few scares easing into it that's the toughest, because like your eyes have to adjust to the strobe. Like every night I would scare, I would have to like readjust. But after the first few scares, it's like you get into a rhythm, and I always look in the same spot every time. So it's not, and the strobe is like above me or somewhere around me. It's not directly in my face, so I'm fine. It's just like things are happening around me. As long as you focus on the scare, it shouldn't be that bad. But if he was having a big problem with strobe, I would say move him to a different scare that doesn't have strobe and have someone else who can handle it better do that.
We ended up toning down the strobe a little bit so it wasn't as rapid a flash, but like the creative still wanted to keep it, so it's like my hands
strobes are an awesome effect. I don't blame them. Like that scare would have fallen flat for sure.
Yeah, it's such a jarring effect that like you couldn't really sack it. So like, you know, it's one of those times where me as a tech, my hands are tied because my director's saying it's got to stay in. So
right, I felt bad for this guy in the saw maze that had just strobe constantly on him, like very similar to the Michael Myers one. But I hated the saw maze. I loved the going through the saw maze. I hated working the saw maze because it's like it is torture. It is torture. Ledges and strobes just sound dangerous, but I'm sure safety is first. Safety is always first, of course.
So with that specific scare, like it's kind of like a theater box, like if you're in a theater that has like box seating up on the side, where like you can fully stand up, and like he could, you stand up and there's like a screen, but then there's a ledge like just above waist height, so like you can like lean over, and if you don't go at it with too much speed, then you won't go head over heels out. So it was a pretty safe area. And like,
did he have a curtain that he had to like pull out of the way in order to make it happen, or
it was a stretchy material, so it was made to look like a false wall with like a seam running down the middle, and so all you had to do was stretch the fabric out the way and you can pop through the wall.
He might have been overexerting himself then, because I was gonna say if there's nothing there, and I assume the trigger is a foot trigger at that point, and he's in that big costume.
Yeah.
So if it were me, I would just rest my hands on the sheets to pull apart, pop out, pop back in. But I can't go too far, because if that wasn't there, I would rest my hands on the ledge itself so I know exactly how much I can go forward.
Oh yeah, that's a problem. Plague Doctor right there.
Was it? I wore a mask where I looked out from above the eye, and the eyes were clearish white, so the strobe light would reflect into my eyes. Took a good while to get used to. I kept changing up my scares.
Yeah. I mean, it's rough for lighting people like myself who wear glasses because it's nonstop reflections. And like black light, my glasses are kind of fun because they actually deflect black light, UV rays. So like if I'm like staring at a black light out of my peripheral, I can see it and it's shining really bright. But then if I look at it somewhat directly through my glasses, it like dulls it right out. So it's kind of cool.
That's handy.
But yeah, like if the lens is on a mask, oh man. Yeah, I can see that being an issue. But
I've
yeah,
talked to costumes
change
about
it up.
that.
Yeah, change it up. You know, that's an unfortunate thing. A lot of departments who should talk with each other don't. Like lighting and costumes, because specifically like color wise and reflectiveness, like in that case with like reflective eyewear or eye zone stuff, you kind of don't want that, so then it won't glare in your eyes. And then also like the colors of a costume, if we choose a certain color to use lighting wise, it can totally alter the color of the costume itself. It's just
That's a
color
good
theory.
point. Yeah, that's a good point. Like if someone was wearing green and you wanted a red light, it would just dull out the green to gray.
Yeah.
But then you have John Murdy come through and be like, why is the costume gray? It's supposed to be green.
Yep. And then that's when they go yell at the costume people, and then the costume people come yell at you.
And the costume's like, no, it is green. We did our job right.
It's green. It's green. And then the lighting guy's like, well, you didn't tell me what color they're going to be in, so whoopsie doodle,
And this is where they should hire someone like my company to come in and say like, hey, transparency is key. Let me organize the project. I'm going to manage this project.
Those strobe lights have been easier in my eyes than the blue white. Yeah. Warmer tends to be less harsh on the eye. A blue white is definitely cooler and a little harsher. But I mean that's what you want. You want jarring. You want harsh.
For a haunt specifically, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, like that's why like the flickering of candles or fire, that doesn't bother you because that's a warm light that's flickering. But if you look at like a fluorescent light, that's flickering. That's now suddenly jarring and super creepy.
Like the lights above. Once again, it's no longer here, but the Walking Dead attraction when you walk through the hospital and it's like, just standing in that line creeped me out. And that's why you got as big a reaction as you did when I got scared in it.
Yep.
Like, on one hand, I'm glad you don't remember it. On the other hand, that was a really funny thing to happen to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
one of our earliest dates.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things, like, you don't realize just how influential lighting can be in an environment,
Which is why I'm really glad that you were able to come and talk about it as much as you did, because you taught me some things, and I've already heard you talk about lighting quite a bit since our, like, year and a half now dating. But, like, in the context of a haunt, it's so different, too, and there's so much to it. And then, as an actor, obviously, I'm more focused on my safety, dealing with guests, staying in character, dealing with costume and makeup stuff, that you don't really think about the lighting and the triggers and make sure that they're okay, and like all the design that goes into it. So I definitely want, now that I have a newfound appreciation for it, of course, next time I scare, because I haven't scared while we were dating, so that's interesting. Like, such a huge part of who I am, and yet you've never seen me do it, really. And now that I have a newfound appreciation for it since dating you, next time I scare, whenever that's gonna be, if that ever happens, I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out for the things you mentioned in lighting. And for those just joining, like, at the tail end here, Definitely go back and watch this when we're done, because Glenn has a lot of really interesting stories related to the tech side of things, and he's the only tech that I've interviewed for these Scareactor stories. So they're not so much like fun reaction Scareactor stories, but you definitely get a sense of the other side of things and have an appreciation for that. So Eliza, there's a reason phones nowadays have a night mode or paper mode for at night, so that the light isn't so bright at night. It's also what's the harsher light? Blue light?
It's blue light. So blue light, it tends to be harsh against your eyes, like health wise. That's why like a lot of like computer monitors and phone and all that TVs, they have blue light filters, and that I want to say like it helps you get to sleep or something like that. I don't know the exact like health reasons why it's bad for you, but like my glasses I currently wear right now are blue light reflective, and you can actually kind of tell in the feed right now, like if I'm in the right spot, you can tell there's like a slight brown tint to my glasses as opposed to my skin tone. Like, see that?
Mm-hmm.
It's very white and harsh, and then underneath it's like kind of like slight hint of brown. That's the blue light reflective taking effect.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I heard that too, where it's like the blue light causes you to like stay awake more. So the night mode gets rid of that blue light so that you're able to sleep after. Liza, next time she's scared, she'll use the lighting more. LOL. Maybe howl at it because she thinks it's the moon. Ooh, howl at the moon. I miss that.
Oh, Howl at the Moon.
We never got to go to Howl at the Moon together either. For those who don't know, Howl at the Moon was what was it? A dual piano bar.
It's a dueling piano nightclub bar place that
And
was in City Walk, but then it got shut down.
And it got moved to downtown LA, but then that got shut down permanently too.
Hollywood. It went to Sunset, I want to say.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know where it ended up.
It was there for like maybe 4 or 5 months, and because it moved and like where it moved to, it failed to bring in the same kind of clientele that they used to, so they shut down the LA location permanently, and now we don't have a Howl at the Moon anymore.
Which sucks, because Howl at the Moon was really cool. They had awesome drinks, awesome piano players and band. But that's where the Scareactors, after Halloween Horror Nights, we would go there sometimes and just party, or like some of our rap parties would be over there.
It was like a location within the San Fernando Valley, so you didn't have to go over the hill into Hollywood or downtown to actually go to a nightclub or a bar, you know?
Well, it was right there. It was on City Walk, yeah.
Yeah, it was right there.
So it's like we get off work, if we get off early enough and they're still going, then we'll just hop in for a drink and then head home. Like, it's so nice, but not anymore. Ugh, I miss it. And we never got to go together, which is also a real shame. No. It's like all these things we've always wanted to do, because like that was the start of our relationship, was talking about Halloween Horror Nights and Howl at the Moon and going to a party there and all that stuff, and then the mess, and I haven't been able to scare, you haven't been able to do your tech on that side, and we haven't been able to go to Howl at the Moon because that closed down a while back. But yeah, good times though. Individually good times. We never had the good times together, but that's fine. We'll have other good times.
Oh yeah.
So Glenn,
would
you do you have any advice for people who might want to do the tech side of things?
Tech side of stuff. Learn everything and anything there is about entertainment. Learn the performance side, learn the management side, learn tech side, any craft, like costuming, makeup, learn it all, because you'll have a better respect and understanding of how each like department plays its role, and you'll understand how just how much goes into any sort of event or performance. Like, and this could be anything from like a concert to a haunt to theater, even TV and film. Same deal, just slightly different. You know, you're not doing it on the fly; you're doing it pre-recorded. learn everything and anything you can. Stay up to date with new technologies and new processes. It's always changing, always evolving. New things are coming out. You got to stay on top of it. If you don't, then you're going to be one of those people who gets stuck in the old ways, and you won't be viewed as versatile, as some might say. Like, for example, I was a strict lighting technician. Anything and everything lighting was me. And then when I got my gig at Disney, I found myself as a robot technician. I started building robots. So, like, who knows where life will take you? Who knows what you're going to end up doing, and just be open to it. They always say if you enjoy what you're working on, you'll never work a day in your life. And if that stands true, I haven't worked for the past 10 years. It's just been a hobby that pays me. So, that's what I can say about that.
That's awesome. Plague Doctor. Before the mess began, I was getting into more stage work, and the last one I had to work in lights. I run sound, but I'm interested into the lighting side. What would be a good start?
More stage work, lights. Would be a good start.
To continue, they say, I've also been seeking an apprenticeship for commercial electric, etc.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely more appropriate to today's day and age. If you want to get into lighting stuff, just kind of honestly YouTube, like look up YouTube tutorials, lynda.com. There's so many tutorials on like how things work. There's Facebook pages for lighting people. You can ask around. They're probably more than happy to share their knowledge. And if you want to actually start working in the fields, like start small, community theater. They may not pay well, or if any, sort of wage, but it'll get you experience. And that's like the worst thing to hear nowadays. But some small little venue, that has a little fader board just to like bring lights up, lights down, that's a great start. I did that myself. And then work your way up, find gigs where you can. Running cable, you gotta do the grunt work before you can do the cushy seat work. But once the mess clears up, hopefully opportunities will come back, and we can all find ourselves working hobby jobs again instead of 9-to-5s. Yeah.
Eliza says, hobbies that pay are the best, though. Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. Like scare acting. Yeah. Woohoo. I long for the day we get back into it. Yes. Same.
Oh, preach it.
All of us, same boat.
Yeah, because I've never worked like a day job, like a on the side job. Like I've never done retail, never done food service, anything like that.
Lucky.
I've always been gig to gig,
It's fantastic.
And it's a tough life because you don't know when your next paycheck's coming in, because you got to work in order to get that paycheck. So it's a tough life, but it's fun.
It at least keeps you on your toes.
That too.
Yeah.
And you're not stuck in the same rut. You're not pouring coffee every day. You're one day you're cruising the back lot of Universal. Next day you're like 70 feet in the air on a grid in a theater. Like rigging something up. You don't know. And then the year later you're in the lagoon at World of Color. You don't know these things.
Yeah, and also it gives you an appreciation for the money you earn, because like you had to go out and find that gig. rather
Yeah.
than like, I don't know, getting kind of spoiled, not spoiled, but like you get used to a salary job. So it's like, I'm expecting this much money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is nice if you want that security, absolutely. But if you crave for something a little more adventurous, you know, gig to gig, but it's also very risky. Because you don't know, like you said, you don't know where the next paycheck's coming from.
You
Eliza, I long for the day this mess is gone. I want to go back to volunteering for conventions. I miss going to conventions. I was supposed to go to Anime Expo and that got canceled.
Mm.
Ugh.
I was in the union. I think I still. I don't know what my current status is, but I was in the union that covers the Anaheim Convention Center, and we have like BlizzCon. We have, all these different conventions, and well, we can't have them right now. So
Right. Well, hopefully that'll end someday soon. Who knows? I can't predict anything at this point. But it is our time to end the stream.
yeah.
An hour and a half ago.
Whoops. Wow.
But people started like actually communicating and asking questions, and I was like, I don't know. I like talking to my boyfriend. If people want to talk to him too, I'm fine with that. I'll share him for a bit. It's okay.
Plague Doctor, I was in local 504, Anaheim, the Disney local.
Cool. Making friends. That's awesome. Glenn, do you have any like social media or anything you'd like to promote for the end?
Follow me on TikTok.
I was gonna say that.
I have zero content. It's a joke we have going on. Follow my TikTok. I believe it's at Glenjamin47.
Yes, I'll double check that. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. I'm gonna hop in and I'm gonna say this instead of him because I think it's hilarious. It's like an ongoing joke we have. Let me search for your name so I can actually like make sure. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, my phone's at 38% and it's still not dead.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, Glenjamin47. I will put it in the description of this video. But follow him on TikTok. He's 2 away from 700 followers. We're trying to get him to 1,000. Yeah, so you're at 698 right now.
Oh, wow.
I know. So here's the ongoing joke. Glenn has never posted a video on TikTok, nor will he ever, because this is the ongoing joke. He has no content. Yeah, he has almost 700 followers, and we're trying to get him to 1,000 just for like bragging purposes, where he's just like, I don't post any content on TikTok, but I have 1,000 followers. Like, it's hilarious. So if you are on TikTok, if you follow me on TikTok, feel free to scroll through some of my videos. I've tagged him in a couple of them. I'll also have it in the description here for his TikTok, but please follow him. It's so funny when people follow him, even though he has no videos. It's like this, just it's a meme. It's a joke. Please follow him.
It's a good time.
Also follow me if you don't already.
Oh, yeah.
Like I tell Scareactor Stories. But yeah, mainly follow Glenn because it's hilarious. For me, it's more like if you like my content and you want to follow me, go for it.
Yeah.
So, anything else you'd like to promote, Glenn?
Wash your hands. Wear a mask. Don't forget to love each other. Yeah. There you go.
That's beautiful. Wise words. I love it. All right. Thank you so much, everyone who's been watching this live stream. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Glenn, for hopping on.
Oh, yeah.
last
Go
minute.
vote. Go vote. Go vote.
Go vote. Go vote.
Yes. Do that. That's important. Yes.
Voting is important. Oh my God, that's just a few days away. Is election day.
Yes.
Oh my God. You already voted, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. We already voted. We're good. But you vote. Everyone vote. All right, so everyone in the live stream, thank you so much for being here and watching. Just so you know, I will not be going live on Saturday because that's Halloween and that's going to be my holiday with my man over here. So we're just going to have a good time, except for that photo shoot randomly I'm going to be doing for Sky. It's going to be fun, but that's the part without my man. So I will not be going live next Saturday. There will be no Scareactor Stories next Saturday. I know. Oh, man, but it's Halloween. That's the day to do it. I know, but also my personal life is important. So I'm going to take a little break from social media on that day. I'll post a TikTok maybe in the morning, but Otherwise, I'm going to be dedicating the day to me, my holiday, my man, and friends and all that stuff, and just enjoy the holiday. I will be back with more stories that following Monday. I think I have it scheduled. To know for sure, follow me on Instagram. I will update on my Instagram story if things ever change. So, yeah, that's where you'll get the most up-to-date updates is my Instagram. Also Twitch. I go live on Twitch, usually with Glen here, playing Phasmophobia a lot lately. We go live on Twitch Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific time. I also go live on TikTok Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So join in on those. I do fun, like, 16-tier bracket games. Obviously Halloween related with the upcoming holiday coming up. So, yeah, follow me on all the things. I'm easy to find. It's a fun time. I'm kind of everywhere. So if you don't like my content on one thing, feel free to hop to another one. It's different kind of everywhere, but... And obviously, subscribe to my YouTube if you haven't already, because there's a lot of fun Scareactor stories being told by my fellow Scareactor friends. So, do that, and like and comment, subscribe, all those things. You know what to do. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining. And I will see you the next live, which is Friday on TikTok, 5 p.m. If not, have a happy Halloween. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.